Through the final section of racetrack, Jordan Ashburn makes his way home here in Ohio to be the 7th winner of 2023 and his 3rd win of his career.
I cannot believe he just witnessed. Jordan Ashburn is a happy guy.
Anybody that last year, and I'm talking to the people in the social media comments that discredited this man for saying, yeah, he's doing well, but, however, therefore, no, forget it. Today it was mano a mano, him against Stu Baylor.
All the honor to Jesus. Woo! Yeah, excited and excited to get it done. You know, we got a lot of haters last year. We're back. Competition's so stiff right now, and man, everybody's really top notch. It could be anybody's day, and I'm just thankful to get the win today and being able to get it done.
Take me through your race, kind of how did it go? What was the track like?
Start was decent, got into like 3rd, like 3-4 corners in. I went down, thought I was gonna get run over, just balled up like this, dead last, pushed super hard the next like half mile, crashed again, and I was like, okay, well now I know how slick it is, so kind of backed it off, figured out what I needed to do for my speed and pace, and man, I just really chipped away at the guys the first lap. I know I needed to get to the front quick, and that's what we did, and we got to the lead and just pushed all day, and Stu got me the last 2 laps, and I kind of followed him, looking for a spot to get a pass, and he ended up going around the hill the last lap, and if I was in his shoes, I probably would have did the same thing, because could have thrown it all away. He was really in the guinea pig spot there that last lap, and I got really lucky and got up it and got around him, and I had a little gap on him, but he got me back. He was going so hard that I was happy to be able to get it done.
Lap 2 was absolute chaos. But lap 1, I twisted the front end and lost a lot of time trying to get it straight. And lap 2 caught all those guys, and it was just a shit show in the pen section. Looked back, and I was like 4th place, 3rd place in XC1, and I had an XC2 guy right on my ass. So I yelled at Craig and Ricky. I was like, boys, we got to go. That's XC2 right there. And just started picking guys off and went up to the front pretty quick. And from there, rode a really good race, rode what I would consider another winning race, and just lost brakes there, 2 laps to go, and you know, it's part of it. Can't win them all, but we can win this championship. We're in it. Consistency paying off. You know, with a DNF, I'm really pissed off about that right now, looking back on the points. But man, we're looking forward to the next few rounds, and summer break. It's time to drink some beer.
Being more than halfway through the season and still in the points chase, how does that feel?
Points chase, brother. I'm in the points lead.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. How's that feel?
Yeah, it feels good. You know, I feel like I'm the most consistent guy this year, and you know, I feel like I've been the fastest guy. Just haven't been able to show it. Stupid things keep happening, and you know, maybe it's myself putting myself in those situations. But you know, we're sorting through it and getting better every race.
Podium, let's go!
Hell yeah, that was good. Yeah, I started off good. I found myself in the lead and kind of didn't want to be there going into the John Penton section, and Ricky was riding really good. And he kind of passed me. I kind of checked up a little bit and then made a couple mistakes, and going in the last lap, I found myself in 5th, and I was feeling good and charged that last lap. Craig got stuck on a hill, and Josh took a main line. I kind of got off and got around him quick. Fine, grabbed my leg, caught me, flipped me off the bike. I got up, kind of stuffed the bike in front of him, and yeah, had the good lead. Went through the pits and went over the bars again, and still got up, and he was right behind me, and he chased me into the finish line. And yeah, that was a hectic race, but building momentum. 3rd place, another podium. I'm happy. Let's keep digging.
Thank you. Dude, gnarly. Penn section, gnarly. Like one of the gnarliest one we've had, and man, me and Liam back and forth that last lap, was able to hang on to it, get him back, and man, me and him battled like the whole race. Me and him went back and forth. So Penn section was like decider. You had to not mess up there, fall down hills. It is gnarly. There's people everywhere. So no, to come out on top, pretty cool. I'm pumped on this one. So dude, I know everyone, like, this was my first win last year, and then
now I've repeated it. So the pen's been treating me pretty good these last 2 years. So now to lock down, I was close to Tiger Run to a win, and to lock down one this here was it's special. So I'm pumped on it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You put your hands together. This is your XC1 Pro Podium from the Wise Pro John Penn GNCC. That'll be feeling good.
Man, it's heavy. It's heavy, but I like it.
Grabbing third. A great job. Your XC1 Podium.
GNCC is back on Racer TV with a historical season in GNCC. 7 rounds of racing, 7 different winners. Big Buck, Stu Baylor. Wild Boar, Ben Kelly. The General, Craig DeLong. Tiger Run, Ricky Russell. Camp Coker Bullet, Grant Baylor. The Hoosier, Johnny Gerard. The most recent, Jordan Ashburn, a man who seems very focused, very dangerous. Will he be our first repeat winner, or will it be someone else? Or will we keep the streak alive and make it 8 different winners in 8 rounds of racing? The historical season of GNCC starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to round number 8 of the 2023 Grand National Cross Country Racing Series presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. We are here for the Parts Unlimited Mason-Dixon GNCC, and Johnny, historical season already in the books. If nothing changed from here, it goes down as one of the greatest, if not coolest, seasons in history. 7 rounds, 7 different winners, Jordan Ashburn being the most recent.
You know, I had intended to do a little homework, but I was never good at homework when I was in school. I wanted to go back and look and see if there ever was a season where we had 8 winners, 7 winners even.
Right.
And off the top of my head, I'm going to say flat out
6.
no. 6. Yeah,
I think that was the record.
I don't think so. And if we can do it today and get an 8th, there's absolutely no way there's ever been 8 winners in a season. But yes, Jordan Ashburn, we've been talking about it. You know, we've sounded like a broken record. He's got that number 1 plate. He needs to back it up, needs to show people, hey, I can do this with everybody here and everybody healthy. He did just that. Wasn't the typical way that we would think Jordan would win a mud race. I mean, he fought for it, he battled, and in the end, he took it away.
Oh, he did. He absolutely did. And that was something that we kept saying. It just kept coming up up during the broadcast at the last race of, hey, anybody out there that was doubting this man in 2022 of whether or not he was a true champion, I said, watch this race. He's going up against toe-to-toe, mano-a-mano, man versus man against those guys in tough situations, and he came out on top. Jordan Ashburn is a legitimate champion. He is the real deal.
No question. There's been a lot of hype around Stu Baylor. Stu kind of methodically worked his way up through the pack, took the lead. Looked like it was going to be Stu's race to lose, and then suddenly Jordan fired back, and Stu himself made comments. He just couldn't believe the fire that Jordan was riding with, and we saw that massive disappointment 2 weeks earlier in Indiana, and it seemed like he was just riding like a man possessed and would not be denied. Was able to best Stuart Baylor and all the rest, and get to the finish line first, grab that win, and all the questions are answered. He can beat everybody when they're healthy.
So will we have 8 different winners and 8 different rounds? We'll see. I don't know. It's getting hard now. I got to think today's the day where we see our first repeat winner of the season.
We've been saying that since round 3.
That's it. We've been saying it since Georgia. So maybe today we got some more magic out there. I know if your name is Josh Strang, you're hoping so. XC2, Johnny, things looking really good there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a battle right down to the finish again. And we hate to say it again, broken record.
I know.
A heartbreaker for Liam Draper. Looking like he had that one won. Coming down to the finish line, it was just an absolute battle between he and Cody Barnes.
Yeah.
And when it came right down to it, Liam just another so close, but just not quite getting it done.
Yeah, heartbreaker. And Liam's got to be hungry. He wants that win, and this is frustrating to say the least for him.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is also a bit of a home track for Liam Draper.
Oh, for sure.
And now, keep in mind, that means that all of the Phoenix Hondas have been able to get up there on the podium, get the job done, and that team is fired up. But, Liam Draper and that Ampro Yamaha surely has been looking super solid these last couple races. If he's going to have a breakthrough ride, which we know is coming, he's been right there, he lives just a mountaintop away from here.
Yeah, going to be an interesting day in the XC2. And, of course, Johnny, the FMF XC3 Dakota DeVore coming off a big win in the 125 Pro-Am class. A solid day for the 125s as well.
Yeah, man, back-to-back wins for Dakota, and was riding excellent there. They had a heck of a battle, between him and Jay Lipscomb, and when they brought right down to it, Dakota getting a big win out there, and our previous, earlier in the season, points leader Toby Cleveland rounding out the podium in third. That class is always fast and furious, and it was no different 2 weeks ago. We expect it to be no different here today.
They'll be back singing the song of our people, have no doubt about it. You've heard from Johnny and I. We want to get some rider insights. We got to catch up with one of our pro riders prior to today's race.
Yeah, I was definitely ready to come back after the Hoosier and put it back right where we were running, and I think we did that. And ready to do it again this weekend, and just keep on clicking back away in the podiums, and try to get some more wins this year. And that's our plan. And it took us a bit this year to get everything where we wanted, but we're there now, and we're ready to race.
All right, hey, we got the rider insights on today. 7 rounds, 7 different winners. Is today an 8th different winner? I don't know, maybe. But first, we got to see what we're facing today as far as terrain, as far as track. So we'll throw it to Jared Bolton with a Yamaha course description.
Well, thanks, guys. It's awesome to be here at the Mason-Dixon GNCC because, look, it's sunny. It's sunny. That's a welcome relief after the last 2 races. What might not be a welcome relief to some is the dust, but for those of us on the track crew, hey, we'll take the dust any day. Maybe not any day, but definitely after the last 2 races. The actual racetrack here, this is a pretty unique racetrack. You start off, the pits, the start, the finish, all of that stuff is in Pennsylvania, and then you're going to cross over into West Virginia. And these 2 pieces have a very unique feel. Obviously, we call it the Mason-Dixon for a reason. You're going to take off from the start. You got about 4 miles with a little more open, flowy trail. And then guess what? Just after the 4-mile mark, you're going to cross over into West Virginia, and things slow down significantly. It gets a little tighter, a little twistier, a little more up and down. Slows you down a little bit all the way past the 8-mile mark. So you got about 4 miles of open stuff, 4 miles of tight stuff, and you're going to cross back into Pennsylvania, and obviously it's going to open back up again. The last quarter of the track is also back open. Flowy, good stuff. Really unique racetrack, beautiful facility. Can't wait for a great weekend of racing. Back to you guys.
All right, Jared, thanks for the rundown on what these riders are going to be facing out there today. We're going to let this guy go so he can do some 10 seconds call and get racing action underway. We'll be back with all the action live on Racer TV after a word from our sponsors.
all-new Yamaha YZ450F. Narrower, more compact, and lighter. Built to do one thing: go faster. Flexible financing options offered directly through Yamaha are available. See your local Yamaha dealer today.
GNCC Racing is brought to you by Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready. IFBN as well, buddy, so you can... And welcome to round number 8 of the 2023 Grand National Cross Country Racing Series presented by Specialized. If you're just tuning in on RacerTV.com, we welcome you here to the Parts Unlimited Mason-Dixon GNCC. And folks at home, you are just in time. We're about to listen to the national anthem. So at this time, if you are in that XC2 class, if you want to step off of your motorcycle, step forward on that row right in front of you and lead us by example. The rest of the folks here, this is a point where we say, please remove your hats and cross your hearts as we honor the greatest nation in the world with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right. We are just about ready to set things off now, but first we've got to meet row number 1 for the XC1 Pro class. Big John, you ready? He said maybe. Are you ready? Are we missing the 514? Are you ready, Jeremy Holbert? Okay, all right. Well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, let's introduce your XC1 Pro class. Riding to the line first, your points leader, the 514 out of Hodges, South Carolina on the Rocky Mountain ATV, Teely Energy KTM, Stu Baylor. Rolling to the line next, the 342 out of Morgantown, Pennsylvania on a Rockstar Energy Factory Husqvarna, Craig DeLong. Rolling to the line next, the 530 out of Connecticut on an FMF Factory Red Bull KTM, Ben Kelly. Rolling to the line next, the defending national champion, the #1 out of Livingston, Tennessee, aboard the Magna One Motorsports Husqvarna, Jordan Ashburn. Rolling to the line next, the 314 out of South Carolina on a Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Team Green Kawasaki, the Grizzly Grant Baylor. Rolling to the line next, the number 17 out of Denver, North Carolina on a Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki, Josh Strang. Rolling to the line next, the 212 out of Duval, Washington, aboard the AM Pro Yamaha. He's rough, he's rowdy, Ricky Russell. Rolling to the line next, the 969 out of Boonville, North Carolina, on the Red Bull Factory KTM, Johnny Gerard. Rolling to the line next, the 523 out of Boonville, North Carolina, on an FXR and Lane Michael Racing backed gas, Lane Michael. And last but certainly not least, and an enormous welcome back to GNCC, the 739 out of Morganton, North Carolina, aboard the Rockstar Energy Factory Husqvarna, Trevor Bollinger. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your starting row for the XC1 Pro Class here at the Parts Unlimited Mason-Dixon GNCC. And at this time, as our pro riders get locked and loaded on row number 1, and DJ Jorge Mixmaster Murphy exits the Monster Energy Activation Transport, this is a point in time where we like to say, Mixmaster Murphy, remove the meat. Yeah, buddy. Just like a Beyond Burger, we remove the meat. I'm kidding, we keep all the meat. Zach Heron, what did you do to the calf?
Turns out after an hour and a half of racing, motorcycle pipes are hot.
It happens. It happens. Zach Heron in the trenches, getting injured. I'm loving it. No quit, that's right. All eyes are going to turn down into turn number 1 as the Monster Energy Activation Transport has exited the starting line. And all attention will turn down into turn number 1, where the Maestro will take the reins of this race. And we go at so. If I'm back and forth, I can still see it. We're good. That helps. That's true. Anything about it. That's all right. We're great. Now Ricky Towery steps forward. He looks down at the wall. Riders know. 1 minute. 1 minute. And we are just about ready to roll now. On Pro Class. It has been a historical season, to say the least. 7 rounds of racing, 7 different winners. We're breaking records like crazy. Is today the day we see our first 2-time winner? Do we keep the streak alive? Strang's out there. Trevor Bollinger's out there. Can he make it happen here? Blue flag flies. Shut him down. Shut him down. Shut him down. As we are just about ready to roll now. And I got to ask you, Mason-Dixon GNCC, are you ready to go GNCC racing? That's pretty good, but baby, we are in the mecca of off-road racing. The world headquarters, a stone's throw away. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds for row number 1, the XC1 Pro. Bang, and we're off. XC1 jockeying for position through turn number 2. Craig DeLong with a fistful of throttle in the 3-4-2. Rockstar Energy Husqvarna will grab the All Balls Racing Hole Shot Award. And we wait on the dust to clear. Woo! Giddy up. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be a good one. Ricky Towery waiting on the OK for this XC2 250 Pro class. Ryder Lafferty, Rui Barbosa, Angus Reardon, Bubs Tasha. Blue flag waves. We're getting them shut down. Steel City Men's Clinic, whole shot up for grabs in 10 seconds. Bubs Tasha, Mason Simmons, Brody Johnson, Mike Wachowski, Jesse Ansley, Evan Smith, Grant Davis, Jonathan Johnson, and Cody Barnes. Steel City Men's Clinic whole shot award up for grabs. Bang! The 222. Grabbing it right there in the XC2 class as we turn our attention now to the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class. LoJack Cycle Sales Whole Shot Award up for grabs. 10 seconds. Toby Cleveland, Jay Snopp, Van Gosselin, Dakota DeVore, Sawyer Caratura, Jason Liscombe, Jack Walker's. Jeremy Wallstrom, Russell Smith in 10 seconds. Hunter Bush, Chase Colville, Justin Murphy, David Gordon, Sean Myers, Braden Lewis, James Clark, Kenton Coleman, Dalton Young, Ty Miles, Zach Miles, and Hunter Smith. As our riders battle for position, a good two-way battle out front. That's going to go to the 382 of Sean Myers Jr. Couple riders getting tangled up in the first turn right there, back on two wheels and rolling. Coming up next, four-stroke A lights. 10 seconds. Ryan Piper, Huck Jenkins, Caleb Baltimore, Colton Shields, Nick DeFeo, the T-Rex, Ty Ely, Eli Childers, Van Adams, Isaiah Brown, Matthew Davis, Cade Henderson, Caleb Hines. 176. It's the 410 on the helmet. Van Adams. That's my homie from back home on that Westfield Power Sports and Fly Racing back ride. Somewhere I still got that Van Adams autograph. Woo, there's a throwback for you. Junior A, 25 plus. 10 seconds. Adam Achiski, Cody Pingley, Evan Maynard, Aaron Higgins, Wesley Schmidt, Andrew France, Brad Esper, Billy Kibler, Joshua Vitale, Thomas Caldwell, Caleb Williams, Gregory Funk. You know what we say? Who got the funk? Gregory got the funk. Oh, carnage! Right after the whole shot. Multiple riders tangled up. Getting it sorted out. Into the dust they go. 158 coming up next. 10 10 seconds. Tyler Shields, Daniel Sarnes, David Johnson, Dylan Carano, Walker Morris, Thor Powell, and Xander Garone. Buzz, buzz like a rocket ship. TP, Thor Powell out in front. He's on the inside. Can he turn it into a hole shot? Yes, he can. Mama, there goes that man. Thor Powell with a hole shot. And the early lead. We turn our attention now to the Senior A 40-plus. Joe Marsh, Frank Messina, Cody Hosta. 10 seconds. Joshua Wyatt, Vinny Tomic, Stephen Meacham, Justin Gale, Alan Peters, and Darren Darmos. It's the number 71 machine. I believe that's Frank Messina. He's out in front. He will be challenged. No, he won't either. Fistful of throttle. Go get it, Frank Messina. On that Scotts and Dunlap backed KTM. Grabbing the whole shot and the early lead right there as we turn our attention now to the Vet A30 Plus. Waiting on the OK. Ooh, little trouble right there. He got her going. 10 seconds. Mike Carrasco, Robbie Norwood, McKees Gomez, Ryan Lojak, Ted Mullins, Michael Funk, Kevin Depew, Daniel Sims, James Bauer, and Justin Bullers. 468. It's going to be the 422 on the helmet. That is Daniel Sims on that Dreyer Motorsports back ride. Grabbing a whole shot and early lead right there. Here we go. 250B. 10 seconds. Ty Atkinson, Robert Wise, Rivers Morris, Buggy Funk, Bane Croft, Andrew Adams, Ryan Carnes, Landon Tharp, Dylan Kapowski, Caleb Hoffman, Noah Ellis, Brayden. Oh, I'm getting choked up about it. Braden Sylvester, Devin Moore. Oh, ooh, pretty close to call. I think Robert Wise got it. Pretty close, though. Good battles. Here we go. Open B coming up next. Chandler Taylor, Isaac Prunty, Arden Shelley. 10 seconds. Matthew McCormick, Andrew Costa, Lane Morrison, Colton Kuntz, Taylor Myers, Anthony Oplinger, and Jacob Maynard. Woo! There you go. Look like 027. Boy, did not quite catch the number on the side of that helmet. Good battle nonetheless. 4-stroke B lights. 10 seconds. Rayleigh Messer, Clayton Robbins, Bryce Alcree, Hunter Barron, Dylan Miller, Ryan Deal, Drew Hoffman, Keenan Rupp, Andrew Seegers, Preston Horton, Preston Orrs, Robert DeLaley, and Corbin Johnson. And I believe that's Andrew Seegers, 535. No, Keenan Rupp. It's Keenan Rupp, my bad. On that full send racing back ride. Both riders on the Cowie. SC Junior B 25 plus set to go in 10 seconds. Stephen Pohl, Blake Barker, Ben Wade, Devin Hall, Logan Robinette, Leroy Petrie, Terry Williams, Ty Roberts, Douglas Randolph, Dylan Davis, Travis Barton, Brandon McCoy, Andrew Waldrop, Luke Hendrickson, and Billy Saliga. I don't know why. Billy Saliga, one of my favorite names to say. Rolls off the tongue, dude. 413. That's Devin Hall out of Huntington, West Virginia. On a Maynard Racing Performance and AOMC back ride. 150B. Brady Beerbaum, Jaden Schagel. 10 seconds. Jaden Sloggle, Trevin Golden, Briar Menace, Gavin Hampton, Noah McGraw, Arson Brogner, Ryan Garone, Parker Savage, and Caden Childers. Buzz, 150B rolling. It's a 4-1-1. A Gavin Hampton out in front, and Gavin will grab the whole shot and the early lead right there as we turn our attention now to the Senior B 40 plus. George Kleins, Larry Hopper, Brandon Clayton. 10 seconds. Michael Cleese, Jason Cottrell, and Aaron McAfee. All the 122 with a good drive right there. That's George Clydes out of Medina, Ohio, on the Honda. And he will turn it into a hole shot. An early lead. No big deal. Now you just got to go do it for 3 hours. Woo! Be a long afternoon. Vet B 30 plus. Ready to roll in 10 seconds. Adam Odell, Nick Plank, Rick Stanley, Scott Hopper, Zachary Taylor, Louis Pena, Cody Martin, Adam Clark, Ben Odell, Sean Kilkenny, David Rutter, Zach Gaines, and Sean Natasi. It looks like all our riders are off. Safe start line there. Let's see who grabs the hole shot. And it's going to be the 5.92 of Sean Kilkenny out of Bellews Creek, North Carolina, aboard the KTM. Woo, baby. That is a finished start here at the Parts Unlimited Mason-Dixon GNCC. We're going to take a short break. We're going to get a word in from our sponsors. And when we come back, round number 8 of the 2023 season, the Parts Unlimited Mason-Dixon GNCC. We'll be right back after this.
All-new Yamaha YZ450F. Narrower, more compact, and lighter. Built to do one thing: go faster. Flexible financing options offered directly through Yamaha are available. See your local Yamaha dealer today.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment, whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends. Professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
Amsoil runs on freedom and has since 1972. We punish our products firsthand in our world-class laboratories and beyond, because some things can't be learned from a test tube. Run with us.
Last season was my best season ever by far. I won a lot of races. I won a championship, and it was also my first year using ARMA. And one of the things I noticed was just my ability to string good days together. You know, like especially in the summertime in Florida, where you're riding every day and the heat index is 108 degrees and you're doing 230s and going to the gym and bicycle and all that stuff. I think in the past I've been super inconsistent day to day. Yeah, I may have a good race here or a good day during the week there, but overall I think where I improved the most was my consistency in my recovery.
GNCC Racing is brought to you by Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 2023 Parts Unlimited Mason-Dixon GNCC. We are off to a historical round number 8 of the Grand National Cross Country Series presented by Specialized and AMA National Championship. My name is Jackson Burrell, and I'm alongside Zach Heron and Johnny G to bring you today's action. Stay tuned as Zach will be showing us a recap of the start here in just a minute.
Yeah, you said it, Jackson. A historical season underway here in 2023. We'll go ahead and say it. 7 different winners in the first 7 rounds, and here we are at round 8. Now taking a look at the Specialized start recap. And we had a pretty unique start on the hillside here, a little off camera for you. And the XC1 replay, we thought it might be the return of Trevor Bollinger making his way back to the Rockstar Husky on that XC1 lineup, but it looks like it was going to be his teammate Craig DeLong, one of our 7 winners, grabbing the whole shot in pretty dominant style as well. And then Lane Michael just behind him, looks like your reigning champ Jordan Ashburn, giving a little encouragement there up the inside on that Magna 1 Husqvarna. That's going to allow Johnny G to slide around the outside into that 4th place spot, battling with Stu Baylor, Ricky Russell, Grant Baylor, and the rest of that XC1 field headed into the woods. Now we're going to take a look at the XC2 class. And when the flag flew, they were off charging into turn number 1, and it was the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Energy, or Teely Energy KTM of Ty Ely grabbing the whole shot there, and then Mike Wachowski there around the outside on the Phoenix Racing Honda. Looks like that's one of the Beta boys there along the outside, and then that might be Angus Riordan sliding up the inside, and then slingshotting around the outside, actually grabbing the lead there as they make their way into the woods. So lots of shakeup there in those first couple of turns before they even make their way into the woods here at this Mason-Dixon. Now we take a look at that XC3 125 class. The 2 strokes were singing coming into turn number 1. And everybody was able to get through that turn clean, it looked like. And it was the 545 grabbing the whole shot. Couldn't quite see who that was in 2nd place. It looks like Toby Cleveland there in the 3rd place spot. But everybody managing to stay up in that XC3 class. And you can see the shiny streaks as they're going down, just how hard packed it is. A little bit of slick on top. And that's going to be what you're going to hear a lot of, dry and slick. It's not the wet conditions that we've seen in some of our previous rounds, but it's still slick. Throttle control going to be crucial, and a lot of hard packed conditions. Now getting a look at the front of the field, and there is Craig DeLong leading the way. Lane Michael just behind in 2nd. And now it's going to be, there's Jordan Ashburn holding down 3rd still. I believe it's Stu Baylor behind him. No, it was Johnny Gerard on the factory KTM. Then there's Stu Baylor. Ricky Russell coming through on the Ampro Yamaha. Grant Baylor behind him. There's Ben Kelly. I believe that might have been Bollinger there, and then there's Josh Strang. And Jackson, take this graphic right here. Really been showing us how crazy of a season we've had so far.
Yeah, so take a look here at our points leader as Ben Kelly, or Stuart Baylor, I mean, and see how that went. Stu is on the orange and yellow line, and you can see just right there at that last round, shooting him straight up into the points lead.
Yeah, no, it's whoever your favorite rider is here in this XC1 class, you can watch it and get to see the highs and the lows of the season. And, you know, if you want to look at Josh Strang, a consistent climb there on that green line. But there is your points leader running the reverse plates, the 514, Stu Baylor. And I think Stu's feeling dangerous today. I saw him earlier. He looked confident, as always, typical Stu style. And now getting a look at your leader. And this is not what you want to see of your Stu Baylor. 2nd in points, the Rockstar Energy Husky rider of Craig DeLong. And we introduced Johnny G here. Johnny, this is what we were saying. There's Lane Michael in 2nd, but Craig DeLong getting a good start is bad news for the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's a bad news for everybody, but great news for him. I mean, if there's a day where you want to get a good start, get a whole shot, and get out front, today's the day. You know, not quite as dusty as it was yesterday. We had some rain during our PM race yesterday, and a few showers throughout the evening as well, but not enough. I mean, there just hasn't been any rain here at this Mason-Dixon facility, and yeah, it's leading to a lot of dust. And as you can see, I mean, we're only you know, 3/4 of the way through lap 1, and this is already strung out. We're used to seeing these guys this year especially really wheel to wheel throughout much of the race, and I don't think we're going to get that excitement. I think the excitement that we're going to get is who can make the charges, who can make it up through the pack, you know, from their bad starts. We see our top 4 through there, and as you can see, big gaps opening up between each of those guys. But if you want to get out front and get a lead, the best way to do it is grab the whole shot, and that's exactly what Craig DeLong did on that Rockstar Energy Racing Husqvarna, and he's the one making the dust right now, and everybody else is having to eat it. You can see the rest of the pack working their way through. There we saw Grant Baylor. We did see Johnny Gerard come through before that. Ben Kelly now working his way through after a disappointing round at that last one. We saw Ricky Russell come through the shot. All the rest of the guys there is Josh Strang. So all these guys now kind of just clipping away the mile markers, kind of trying to start to get a strategy. I think what we're going to see today is we're going to have a lot of pit strategy come into play. Looks like that is...
I think that was Gus Riordan. I think
that was our XC2 leader. So that's another thing I think that will loom large here today. Looked like that was Mike Wachowski going by there on the Phoenix Racing Honda, possibly Rui Barbosa, his teammate. We did see the early whole shot leader of Bubs Tasha kind of make a fumble there in turn 3 or 4 and hand it over the lead, but still up there in the top position. And today's a day where I think we could see the XC2 guys, especially early in the race, really charge up and get high up into the overall.
And Johnny, one thing to note, we have one of our Rockstar Energy Husqvarna racers back out there. Trevor Bollinger on the track today. Got a word in with him before he started. He said he was ready to go. So we'll see here today.
Yeah, you know, Trevor was kind of trying to find his groove there earlier in the season, and then had another injury, obviously coming back from that horrific injury in 2022, the leg injury that had him sitting out so much. And to have him back, you know, that's a big sigh of relief for that Rockstar Energy team, and also, you know, for the fans. I mean, it's good to see that front row starting to rebuild itself. We have Lane Michael back in action, Trevor Bollinger back in action, so that takes our 8-man XC1 class all the way up to 10 now.
And Lane Michael really getting up there today, something we haven't saw a whole lot of this season from him.
Well, this is a bit of a home track for Lane. You know, he's from not too far from here at all, just south of Morgantown. He lives in North Carolina now, but he grew up racing here. And if you go back to his days as a youth rider and an A-class rider, amateur overall battles, I mean, he would really show his best stuff. You know, here at High Point Mason-Dixon, we didn't race here as often back then, but we raced at a track called Masontown that was just a few miles as the crow flies from here. These are conditions. You know, he's got his home fans here. A lot of people out cheering him on. So I think, and he's regenerated. You know, he's taken some time off, had that shoulder injury, and surely he's out here looking something to prove. If you follow him on Instagram, he's had a little bit to say here. He said, "Hey guys, I know this hasn't been the season we're looking for, but I want to be up there battling for podiums and wins in GNCC, not just be known as a sprint enduro guy." And hey, man, no better way to do it than put yourself up there within striking distance to lead here at you know, the GNCC races.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I asked Walker Fowler yesterday, as well as Cody Collier, you said a hometown race and kind of all of the stuff that comes with it. You've got friends, family that come out to see you. Do you see that as an advantage or a disadvantage, especially after coming off of a little bit of a break? Is it extra pressure or is it extra motivation?
You know, life is what you make of it. So is home field advantage. I mean, if you come in and you feel the pressure that you have to perform, some guys thrive under pressure and some guys fold like a cheap house of cards. Right now, all the pressure though coming from the 523 of Lane Michael onto the rear wheel there of Craig DeLong, and you know, Lane looks fast right now. I mean, I don't think Lane's speed has ever really been in question. I mean, he's got that great sprint speed. It seems to be the challenge for him is putting together a complete 3-hour race. I mean, we oftentimes see him running up in a podium position early. You know, I'm one of those people that believes in Lane. I mean, I've seen what he's capable of. I know he's a world-class rider. I think he just struggles a little bit at times, and today could potentially be the day that, and I think if you're Lane, you know, your goal should be just getting a good solid ride, just to kind of get your legs back onto you. Jordan Ashburn on screen there talking about getting a good solid ride. I mean, you know, we said it in the pre-show, can't say enough about how much I think that win 2 weeks ago at the John Penton GNCC does for Jordan Ashburn. Coming in, you know, having that 10,000-pound #1 plate on his machine, it really seems like it has been looming heavy. He had so many close calls this year, up front, running in the point position, just not able to close it out, and 2 weeks ago did it, not only grabbing the win, but doing it in, quite frankly, a pretty commanding fashion. I mean, he just stamped his authority on that win 2 weeks ago. Now we can see, it looks like things starting to tighten up here a little bit further back. These guys were spread out a bit more. There we see Trevor Bollinger just ahead of him, Ben Kelly, Stu Baylor, pretty much the entire, and this should be Josh Strang, and it is on that number 17 machine. So we've got the top two stretched out a bit. A couple guys maybe 10, 15 seconds apart after that, and then pretty much the entirety of the rest of the XC1 class all basically wheel to wheel with just a few small gaps.
Yeah, a little bit more what we're accustomed to. It seems like these first lap and a half, though, we've got the entire XC1 line basically wheel to wheel, and then you've got those XC2 leaders that climb up. Now, we've seen multiple times throughout the season now our XC2 leaders even threatening for an overall win, but we've also seen wet conditions. Do you think we'll see that similar in the dry?
I think if we're going to see the XC2 guys kind of up in the mix, it's going to be earlier in the race. I think when I say up in the mix, I mean in the podium positions. I don't expect to see an XC2 rider in a podium position at the end of this race. Not that it's not possible, those guys are fast, but I think right now there's too much on the line for these XC1 guys, and they're all going to be pushing the pace. And once the XC2 guys get to the back of XC1, they're going to be eating their dust. And because of the dust, the XC1 riders are going to be less inclined to let them around like they normally would do, just kind of say, hey, they caught me, I'll see if I can latch onto them. The XC1 guys are going to more than likely make them work for the pass. We see Johnny Gerard on screen there in that 4th place spot. We did see Craig DeLong still leading. It was still the 5:23 of Lane Michael 2nd, and also in the 3rd place spot, our defending champion, Jordan Ashburn. There is Stu Baylor in 5th then, and here comes the rest of the field. We see Grant Baylor, Ben Kelly, all these guys. And there he is on screen, folks, your leader. Right from the whole shot, right till now, he is getting ready to close out this first lap of racing action in that point position, having led it the whole way. It's 3:42 of Craig DeLong.
And we've seen Craig DeLong grab that whole shot in the wet conditions, that one iconic photo. He's the only clean rider coming out of turn number 1, but he's able to do it here in the dry as well, and it's just such an advantage in conditions like these to start out front, eating their dust. You've said it multiple times now. I think it's a perfect choice of words because we talk about the visibility issues that come with the dust, but it starts to coat the back of the throat. It starts to, cause issues beyond just the vision as the race wears on.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, Zach. I think obviously getting a whole shot in the mud, you get to kind of keep your goggles clear. You're not getting sprayed and roosted as much, so it can be an advantage. But there's also a trade-off in the mud. A lot of times, and we've talked about it on the live feed, if you have somebody in front of you, you can kind of see what lines are working and which aren't. If there is a deep hole from the morning race, especially on lap 1, you a lot of times don't want to be the guy breaking trail and the first guy coming into those swamp sections. You want somebody else to kind of make the way for you and see what lines are working. On a day like today, I mean, a whole shot is worth so much. I mean, it's huge, and there's no downside to it whatsoever. I mean, you have clear track, clear vision. You can see no dust hanging. And, guys, you guys have been here all weekend, and you've been to plenty of dust races. You know, dust is one of those things the camera does not do justice.
Yes.
The electronic eye of the camera somehow manages to cut through the dust. A lot of times, if you're down there standing in it, you feel like you can barely see your hand in front of your face. But then you look at it on camera, or even if you take a picture or a video with your cell phone, you're like, why doesn't it look as dusty? To the naked eye, this dust is just so thick when it hangs. And here we see a little man-made obstacle this weekend for these guys. I'm curious to see if they try to double through these at all. Looks like they're just going to take them one at a time, take it nice and safe. There is still Lane Michael in that 2nd place spot there.
Yeah, Lane is not letting up any. It's definitely been fun to see. We saw the ATVs go through this yesterday, and just a unique obstacle. It seems like everybody enjoys it, and definitely a fan favorite spot for sure, Jason.
Yeah, it only lasted about 1 lap yesterday, so we'll see how it does here today. These guys having no trouble getting around it.
Well, potentially, I think the track crew may have slightly. There we see Jordan Ashburn double in the 2nd to last 2 there. I think the track crew may have slightly underestimated the force that an ATV puts in hitting those, and I know that the telephone poles broke free and were rolling around. That's why they had to eliminate the section. It just became a bit of a safety issue. Those are meant to be, kind of, you can see they've got them tethered in place there with rebar and stakes. That did not hold up for the ATVs. They're just, you can see Johnny Gerard kind of having the wheelie method.
Yeah, that's a good method.
I do know that at the Ranch Russell North facility, they do have an endurocross track that these guys practice on a lot, and watching Johnny Gerard and Ben Kelly in there specifically, they're pretty impressive.
And I'm pretty impressed with Lane Michael applying the pressure right now. I think with a good start, especially returning to racing, I wouldn't have been surprised to just see kind of hang out, but he's not letting Craig ride off at all. I'm also not sure whether Craig's really dropping the hammer at the moment either.
Well, I mean, judging by the gap they have, I think somebody's dropping the hammer, whether it be, and I mean, the guy in 3rd, it's not like he's a slouch. He's our defending champion and the winner of the last round, and you can see he is absolutely pushing the pace, trying to close the gap. Now, obviously, we don't know how the entire first lap unfolded. We picked him up about the 8-mile marker, so maybe Jordan had to come through the pack a bit, but right now, you know, it's Craig has such a fluid riding style. It's hard to tell when he's pushing, but the fact that he is, you know, maintaining a slight gap on Lane Michael, who, quite frankly, is probably the most impressive sprinter in the XC1 class when he's on, you know, when he's feeling the track. And I mean, like I said, this is basically a home track for him. I think he's given it all of the berries, and Craig DeLong's able to hold him off. So I think that's why we're seeing a bit of a gap over the rest of the field here. Here's Ricky Russell, a rider that was visibly dejected after the race 2 weeks ago there. It's, you know, these guys are all kind of trying to find their groove. They want to be in this championship hunt, and today's a day, could be the tail of the tape.
And guys, with Lane Michael pushing the pace like Zach was saying, I'm worried about his endurance going forward. We're only one lap through this so far, so we still got a long way to go in this Mason-Dixon GNCC, so we'll just have to see how that's going to play out for him.
Yeah, no doubt Lane's in shape, but I definitely think he's trying to clip onto the back of the Rockstar Husky for a tow right now, and I think he's giving himself the best shot. I'll put it like that.
Well, absolutely. And Jackson, you brought up a great point there with Lane's endurance. There is your XC2 leader, and it is, Zach, you were correct, it is Angus Riordan making moves through those first couple turns, and right now trying to make moves to get away from the rest of the field. Right now he's got a little bit of a gap over, that's actually the 99 of Cody Barnes, the winner of our last round, followed closely by teammate Mike Witkowski, Liam Draper, another home, and I'm making the air quotes, home area rider. That is Evan Smith there. Actually, that was Jonathan Johnson, chest protector, one of the beta guys. And there is Bubs Tasha, your whole shot winner from that XC2 class. Here comes the rest of there's Ryder Lafferty. That is Evan Smith. Always the only way you can tell those two apart is the chest protector on the outside is Jonathan. There's Rachel Archer making moves, coming by there. Second place in today's WXC race. And these are the final turns coming in. But to that point, Jackson, your point about Lane's fitness, I think Lane's cardio fitness, obviously, he's been cycling a lot. His shoulder injury didn't stop him from training, but you're on point with your assessment. I mean, when you're not racing, your hands, your shoulders, all those muscles that you use riding a dirt bike, you can emulate those workouts as much as you want for your overall fitness. It does not translate, so it's going to take a lot of grit for Lane.
And then just being here at the actual racetrack. You got your heart rate up, you got the fans here, being the home race, that adds a lot to it as well.
Yeah, there we see Lane Michael's dad right there standing with his back to us. That's Rick Michael. Got Lane started on this. Oh, he's walking out of camera shot. He probably heard us. Doesn't like to be on camera. You can see. Oh, look at this. Jordan Ashburn goes down.
I was just about to say they laid water down on this. This field section is where Jackson and I have been hanging out all day, and it is super hard packed and dusty.
Not only that, Zach, that was where we were over talking about how many rocks are right there. You can't see it from here, but there's rocks going all up that hill, and they're starting to really expose themselves.
Yeah, you can even see in this bottom corner, Craig DeLong there stopped early, kind of diamond off the corner to try to get a little more traction through the dry stuff, as now we see your leader back on screen. Johnny, you mentioned earlier just the disappointment in the Ampro Yamaha of Ricky Russell after that last round, and I think that's a good point worth mentioning as well. In a season this deep, you can legitimately go from finishing first to finishing outside of the top 5, and that's a hard pill to swallow.
It is, and I mean, especially if you look at Ricky's kind of build up this season. I mean, he was up there battling for wins early in the season. He got a win, and he even said when he got that win, he said, hey, his win followed up, I believe, unless I have my weekends mixed up, I believe his win followed up an off weekend where he didn't score any points, and he said, hey, I want in this championship. People are counting me out of it. I want to be in this championship. So that's his mindset. So with the race he had, I don't remember exactly what his overall was, but I believe he finished outside the top 20 overall, or very nearly outside the top 20 overall 2 weeks ago at the John Penton. That's not the kind of move you want to be making if you're a guy that wants to be in the championship hunt. So we know he has the ability. We know he has a great team behind him and a great motorcycle. Things just sometimes not going the way of Ricky Russell. So the frustration was evident here. Everything going this guy's way right now. The 514 of Stu Baylor, didn't really even seem disappointed with that second place finish, 2 weeks ago at the John Penton. It was more like, hey man, I'm leaving here the points leader. I gave it everything I had, and it was cool to hear him say. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, Jordan just wanted it more. Jordan took it from me, and that's a pretty exciting thing. Stu's known to be a brawler, and for Jordan to be able to step up and take it away from him, I think he gained a little bit of a measure of respect from Stu with that one for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the more outspoken riders versus one of the quieter riders, at least for us. Oh, I mean,
come on!
Nah, Jordan, that was an awesome one. You could even see on the podium, everybody was excited for him. They knew how much that meant to him.
I almost had a heart attack.
Jackson was pumped up. Yeah, we were right there at the finish line, and it was coming down to the wire. Everybody was so excited, and I think along with the, there's a disappointment. I go from first to fifth or something like that, but there's a respect for all of these guys. They look across the line and they know each and every one of them have the capabilities to be a winner out here.
And the reason I almost had a heart attack brings up a good point. He made 7 for 7, and I got official word today in the bike side, the most we've ever done is 4 for 4 in the first 4 rounds. So if somehow a miracle happened today and we got 8 for 8, that would double the previous record.
Well, and it's funny, I went back and watched the Racer TV broadcast, checking out what the fans had to say, and somebody pointed out, hey, we've had 7 different winners before, and I went back and did a little digging. In 2002, Hall of Fame nominee Barry Hawk was the 7th winner, but it was not at the 7th round. So this is still historical, never happened before, and we've got the potential now. We thought there was only 8 riders in the XC1 lineup. With the return of Lane Michael as well as Trevin Bollinger, we now have 3 different opportunities, one of which is sitting in second place right now to go 8 for 8. But I'm not putting it out there yet. We're not even in the first hour.
Go ahead, Johnny.
No, go ahead, Jackson.
I was just going to say, before we jinx it, I think we need to stop talking about it.
Yeah, we said
Start looking at these points here. Y'all mentioned the points about Stu. Stu is in the points lead with 148 points, but the leader is right behind him, Craig DeLong, with 138 points, so only 10 points separating them. If Craig can pull this off today, that would give him some much-needed points and get him on his way to that points lead.
Yeah, and I think that graph that we had earlier, it really does show a lot, not just in the not just in how meteorical some of the riders have been this year, but in how costly those mistakes are. I mean, if you look at just 2 weeks ago, Ben Kelly having a bike problem on the last lap, and from after the fact, kind of doing a little dig into it, I think he was fighting that bike problem throughout the day. They said it started on the second lap. The bike was, just shutting off. It was taking him some time to get it restarted. Missed a couple of hill climbs because of it. Then couldn't get the bike refired, and ultimately on the last lap, dropping out of contention and out of the points completely. That took him from being the points leader all the way back to 3rd place in the points, and unfortunately for him, a pretty good distance back. Stu Baylor, obviously just 2 rounds earlier in South Carolina, same situation, came in battling for the points lead, co-points leader, or in the points lead that round. It's hard to remember because it's been so up and down, but he and Ben Kelly starting to distance themselves. All of a sudden, Stu Baylor has a no points day at Camp Coker, and you can see that's where that flat line is there, right at round 5. So then he just kind of shoots up round 6 and round 7 with 2 good rides in a row, and Ben Kelly, you can see that flat line for round 7. He came in with 100, looking at the graph, just under 130 points, and still has that tally now. So it's one of those things where even on your bad days, you have to kind of try to manage to gain as many points as you possibly can, and sometimes that's not an option with mechanical failure. And so anybody you see there with the flat line, you see Ricky Russell has one there at round 1, or maybe it was round.
Johnny Girard's got one.
Or yeah, Johnny Girard. Sorry.
Yeah, Ricky Russell 2 to 3.
Sorry, the Johnny Girard line was the one that started off. We know he actually had the whole shot at round 1, and then faded back outside the top 20. So top 20 points. We've talked about this so much. It's a strange system if you just go by, okay, well, he finished 12th in XC1, even if he had kind of a DNF situation. It doesn't work that way, folks. Your points are based off of overall. Everyone on the track when you're talking about a championship. So you have to finish in the top 20 out of the several hundred riders that are on the racetrack to score any points at all. And there are bonus points distributed throughout that. Looks like that might be Brody Johnson there, one of our XC2 riders, returning from injury himself. Was a former XC3 champion, maybe even last year's XC3 champion, as a matter of fact, stepping up to that XC2 class this year, and has kind of been riding his way back from a wrist injury. So,
and Johnny, you touched on something that I think is going to be critical today. Some of it's out of your hands, the mechanical failures. We talked about how brutal the dust is on the body, but it's hard on these machines as well. You think we'll see any air filter swaps or anything like that today?
Man, I think these teams have learned a lot, especially at these conditions. We saw really dramatic events unfolding a few years ago at this very event because of the dust. I think the teams have learned a lot. I'm sure they all have extra filters prepped. That said, I think as dusty as it is, it's a different, man, this sounds so stupid to say, it's a different kind of dust, and there truly are. This dust, there's no silt. It's kind of a hard pack surface right now, and the dust is just kicking up, hanging in the air a little bit. When we were here a few years ago, the ground underneath was softer, and it kind of like fluffed up on Saturday, turned into silt, and then dried out overnight. So it was almost like riding in talcum powder. So it would just fly up into the air, and that stuff is so invasive and so detrimental to your machine's air intake and air filter that's where they were having those issues. You know, when we look back at that, I believe that was last year, 2 years ago, that there was all the issues with the air filter swaps, all kinds of guys losing motors. We had the same issue on Saturday. Yesterday, we saw none of that in the XC1. You know, yes, it was dusty. Yes, the guys were having problems with vision. I do think we saw some air filter swaps, but we didn't see bikes expiring because of the thick dust. It just isn't that kind of dust. You can see in the woods here, if this were 2 years ago, and when we've had dusty races here, we wouldn't even be able to see behind Craig DeLong, and you can see still relatively clear as they're coming through here. Look, I mean, Lane Michael has clear vision. I do think we could see some air filter swaps, but I don't think we'll see any bike issues as a result.
Yeah, we're taking a look at the FMF PowerPoint. We had the same shot yesterday with the ATVs, and to your point, there was basically just that wall of dust. They kind of disappear as they reach the top of the hill, and so definitely better conditions. We even talked to some of our sweeper riders before the race, and they're like, in the shade, there's actually still some moisture, and the traction is a lot better as well, but out there in the sun where it's just baking, you see a lot of the hard packed and then the square edge bumps that go along with it.
Guys, I could be wrong, and I don't have a clock going, but I think Jordan Ashburn's making up a little bit of time. It seems like that gap is coming down slowly. We saw it was 7 seconds back to Lane Michael when they checked in at scoring, and 29.9 seconds back to Jordan Ashburn. I think that's closed up a little bit. I think that Jordan Ashburn is putting in a charge here. Johnny Gerard getting a little loose coming through there. We saw the shoulder swag just barely missing a tree, and he's charging as well, but it's pretty crazy right now to see these gaps.
Yeah, and especially this early as well, and it just seems like oftentimes I feel like we've been talking about, they're gonna kind of link up, they're gonna find somebody that's on the same pace as now we see Stu Baylor, and then that final hour is where we really expect to see the sprints, the fireworks, if you will. But I think right now everybody's also kind of trying to probably take inventory of that. We are actually stretching out pretty quickly, and to your point there, yeah, it looks like Jordan Ashburn's like, I want to get a little closer and keep this thing just in case anything happens. So the Magna 1 reigning champ trying to reel in Lane Michael at the moment, still holding strong in second place, lost a little bit of time to your leader, but still looking very strong as far as the body language and everything else in that second place spot.
Yeah, there we see Trevor Bollinger again solidly in a top 10 position in that XC1 class. Still has a little bit of a gap over Josh Strang here, the number 17 machine. So that would be 9th and 10th as they run in the XC1 class, and not too far behind him, Josh Strang kind of running things down there at that Oss Ranch. He's talked about it before, and this guy right here, the 35 of Angus Riordan, one of the riders that's down there riding and training day in and day out with Josh. There we see now it is Liam Draper has actually made it up to the second place spot. Made reference a little bit ago to this being a hometown race for him. Folks, if you look at the entry sheets and the scoring, it will show Liam Draper out of New Zealand, but he lives right here in Morgantown, West Virginia. Most of the year has kind of a home base here and has been here for many years. So this is kind of, again, like we talked about, a hometown race for him. Multi-lines here. We see it looked like Jonathan Johnson trying to get a run on Mike Wachowski up the hill there, and then it is Ryder Lafferty, a rider who was on fire earlier in the season and has just kind of been struggling these last couple rounds to match his former charge earlier on in the season.
And we see Evan Smith going by on screen as well. I'm curious to see where Rui Barbosa was.
Well, look at that,
there,
yeah.
Look at that. He must have heard me talking about him. So Rui checking in there as well. And we talk about riders that kind of needed a change in momentum. We saw Angus Riordan grab that win. You heard him. He was super excited in extremely muddy conditions at round 3, but we haven't seen him back up there right now. Completely different conditions, but good to see him back up in the front.
Yeah, and Jackson actually pointed out on the sign-up sheet, easily confused, Craig DeLong, Morgantown, Pennsylvania. That's actually about 5 hours from here. Morgantown, West Virginia, just down the hill. We are in Mount Morris, Pennsylvania, but Morgantown, Pennsylvania is all the way up by like Reading, closer to Philly. Although Craig DeLong, in the whole circle of the mecca of GNCC universe is right here in Morgantown. Craig DeLong actually lives now here in Morgantown, West Virginia. Down the hill, I believe, just in, I can't think of the name of it, Kirby, Pennsylvania, possibly. But it's right around here, right near Waynesburg.
Home race for him as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, although the sign-up sheets say Morgantown, PA, he's actually from Waynesburg. Now kind of lives here with his girlfriend, Katie. And so, yeah, I mean, this is great territory for GNCC. A lot of people kind of base themselves out of here. The exception, and we're calling it a home race, Lane Michael moved away. But he's from here originally. So here we see that is, the 235 of Brody Johnson getting some camera time for that Magna 1 Motorsports Husqvarna team. The 213 of Toby Cleveland looked like that was our XC3 leader, and possibly some other XC3 riders coming through. Toby Cleveland trying to come back to third place finishes in a row. Things are starting to heat up a little bit in that points battle with Dakota DeVore and also Jason Lipscomb, who have gone 1-2 at the last 2 races. So, man, never a shortage of action in that FMF XC3 class, and we always talk about it. Those things are fun to listen to out on the track.
The sights, the smells, absolutely. Yeah, it's been fun to watch for sure, and good to see Toby back up there feeling good on that Husky. We saw him. It seemed like he was unstoppable off the starts earlier this season, and then I believe even just 2 weeks ago, looked like he was going to grab the whole shot and then spun out coming out of turn 1. I believe he was about 2nd or 3rd coming out of the first turn this time, but I don't know if we missed one of the 125s, but I believe he was in that first place spot leading your XC3. But there is your XC1 leader, the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna of Craig DeLong. And I'm curious to see what the gap is back to 2nd now.
It's definitely opened up a bit. It was 7.5 seconds, looking like it's more like 13 or 14 now. But still, Lane Michael right there. Definitely not giving up on it. He's going to, kind of just riding probably out of that dust cloud of Craig DeLong, and still with a pretty solid gap here over Jordan Ashburn, the #1 machine.
The Method Race Wheels Method Alley giving us a look here at mile 5, and yeah, definitely curious whether or not that gap is actually opened up anymore or not. I believe there we go. Okay, so there is the #1.
I just counted there, or I tried to. I know it's not going to be that accurate, but I do think he's gained a little bit of time, but I don't think a whole lot. I'm sure it's still around that 15-20 second at least.
So curious to see now, and Johnny even mentioned earlier, just the space that we're seeing in these podium positions right now, kind of riding outside of the dust cloud, not applying a ton of immediate pressure on one another, but keeping each other honest. I'm sure the pit boards are telling exactly where everybody's at. And then there is the first of the FMF Red Bull KTMs, Johnny Gerard, not Johnny, well, still Johnny G, but Johnny Gerard.
Imposter Johnny G.
Yeah. You had it first, right?
Yeah, hey, just by age, I got him covered there by 20 plus years, so, or right about 20 years. Yeah, Johnny Gerard there in that 4th place spot, and we'll be waiting and watching for the 514, and there he is on cue. Stu Baylor coming through there in that 5th place spot, and man, it's so odd to see with the, look at that, Ricky Russell now starting to apply some pressure. Wasn't too far behind. Oh, and was that
was Grant Baylor, I believe.
Yeah, did look like Grant. It was hard to see, and then Ben Kelly. So that group's starting to tighten up just a little bit, and I think a lot of it comes to certain parts of the track. Yesterday, we saw that rain kind of wet down the backside of the track and allow these guys to race a little closer together, and that's the section of track they're in now.
Well, we're going to get a word from our sponsors, and we will be back for more of round number 8, the Parts Unlimited, Mason-Dixon GNCC.
Tires, a division of Greenball Corp, has been in the tire business for over 44 years. We're passionate about developing quality tires that perform great and bring extraordinary value to our customers. Whether you're looking for a tire that can handle your off-road adventures, need a reliable tire to take you from job site to job site, or simply want a tire with a beefier look that won't break the bank, then check out Canati Tires.
The United States Motorcycle Coaching Association has been setting a standard for motorcycle coaching since 2016. Coaching is important for all riders, no matter the age or skill level. The USMCA connects riders with coaches, whether the rider is just starting out on their motorcycling journey, to a competitive amateur racer looking to reach their next milestone, or the professional athlete trying to clinch a title. Download the Motorcycle Coaching app and get connected to a USMCA certified coach today.
How would you like to go to a school where we take into consideration how students learn best? Well, we do that because we find if we can build the curriculum around the things you are interested in, you're going to do a better job. The mission at On Track School is that educational success is possible while chasing your dreams. Not only will our staff help students to achieve success, they will cheer you on to the finish line. We encourage you to check out On Track School at ontrackschool.com, where we can help you chase your dreams and still get a quality education.
ontrackschool.com. Check it out.
In the premier form of off-road motorcycle racing in the world, it's the beginning of a new era. 17 Supercross, 11 motocross, and those 3 playoff rounds.
Super Motocross World Championship Final. Tickets on sale now. Visit supermotocross.com.
30-second card is up. We've talked all about it. We've watched practice and qualifying. We've theorized. We've bench raced. Now it is time to go. Brakes are up. James down. Side by side we go. Jet Lord, Justin Cooper in front of the crowd. Linger from Chase Sexton. Did anyone else get up in the mix? They have been 1-2 in the last 7 motos of this championship. Here we go.
Every race, every day, in every way. Print, social, digital, video, photo. Every race, every day. Every result, every story, every rider, everything. Moto every day with Racer X.
GNCC Racing is brought to you by Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
That's been the plan or the goal the last yeah 3-4 races, but no, I feel really good, and this is as close as it gets to hometown. I'm like 20 minutes from here, so got a lot of friends and family here, so it's exciting. I would like to say the first one, but honestly I'm not nervous, but I can feel the nerves for sure, and but that's just pressure that I put on myself, and you know, I want to be that guy that gets that second win. So I feel good. I had a good week riding, and in terrain pretty much the same as this. So I'm very excited to get rolling and get done. Oh, for sure. And then I think for myself that was like not the perfect scenario, but to get my feet wet for the full season was. Not saying that helped, but it definitely wasn't a disadvantage just to get the confidence to run up front. And yeah, you know, being up front the first couple of races definitely, you know, solidified that confidence. So yeah, I mean, I'm here to do one thing, and that's to get a win. So that's my goal, and if I don't get that, I'm not going to be happy.
All right, cool getting a word there from Craig DeLong, as now we see one of the Red Bull KTMs there, Johnny Gerard. But yeah, Craig, not too far from here, like you said, about 15-20 minutes. And we've heard both sides. It's funny, Walker Fowler was like, yeah, I enjoy the hometown pressure. Pressure makes diamonds. I feel like I perform better. There goes Stu Baylor with Ricky Russell all over the back of him, and that is Grizzly Grant Baylor just behind him. But Cody Collier on the other side, he said he didn't like his hometown race just because he didn't like where it was, which I guess fair enough. But Craig performing well at the hometown race right now as the Rockstar Energy Husky leads the way, and I believe we still have Lane Michael sitting in the second place spot, Ashburn in third, and then we picked up with the FMF Red Bull KTM of Johnny Gerard, and I believe that's going to be Trevor Bollinger there. Trevor's still looking good. That's another one. You return to racing, especially coming after an injury. It's always questions of how you're going to last as the race wears on, as we start to approach this first full hour completed. And this is kind of what we're talking about, Johnny. Not terrible conditions that we're seeing here in the actual woods. Obviously much more shaded and not near the dust cloud that we have seen out in the sun.
Yeah, and what little bit I did get out and check the track yesterday, you know, like we talked about in the morning, it was pretty dusty through these sections here. Then we did get those rain showers. Oh, new leader in that XC2 class. It is Liam Draper wrestling the lead away from Angus Riordan there in the number 2 spot on that 35 Trail Jesters KTM machine, who kind of inherited the lead, if you will, when Bubs Tasha didn't exactly execute there in turn number 3, got loose, and he was able to.
That's who it was.
Yeah.
It was quite dusty up there, and from the bottom of that hill, I could not tell who. Well, man,
yeah,
it's a bummer.
Bubs Tasha with the whole shot.
Yeah.
Angus Riordan kind of jostling for position through there. Bubs got loose, and Angus was able to just rip right around the outside, wrestle the lead away. But now Liam Draper coming through the pack. First time we saw him, he's back there in about 6th or 7th, all the way up to the lead now, and clear vision in front of him. Not to beat this whole hometown race thing to a death here, but. I mean, looking at your top 10 as they run, Craig DeLong from Morgantown, Pennsylvania, as we talked about, 4 or 5 hours from here, but lives just over the hill in Kirby, I believe it is, or Waynesburg, somewhere not far from here. You know, he probably likely pedals past this facility on his daily road bike rides for training. Lane Michael from just south of here, now lives down in North Carolina. Jordan Ashburn, Tennessee, no real ties to this place, but going down through, those two guys currently running 1 and 2 with that home field advantage, and then also Liam Draper leading the XC2 class. So I think we can kind of lay to rest the question of, is there a home field advantage here? You're 1 and 2 in XC2, both strong ties here, and you're 1 and 2 in XC1, and your leader in XC2 all kind of at one point in their lives have called this place home.
Yeah. One of the things I was watching, we were actually able to go down to the start and watch it in person here. And you talk about the XC2 leader right now, Liam Draper. He is so far forward over the motorcycle. It almost looks like a motocross style of starting, really heavy over the front end bars. And he got a good drive coming out, stays real low to the ground. As now we're watching this unique section, I feel like, and getting a big kick there on that last one.
Little huckabuck there, as Jeff Hemming would
took
say.
a look back, see?
Yeah, taking a look back over to see if he does still have a gap on Lane Michael there, and the gap is quite a bit bigger than it was last lap, but Lane's still looking strong, and they're in the number 2 spot. You got to wonder how much that now we're an hour into racing, and Lane has really kind of been, at least for the last couple months, kind of trying to rest that shoulder, doing some cycling and things that he could with lower body to stay in shape, but I got to believe that the race clock is starting to catch up with Lane Michael just a little bit. Not saying he's tired or out of shape, but man, the mental focus and strength that it takes to push at the pace that they are. I mean, look at, they've gapped the rest of the field. Here is still your number 3 ride. Last week's or 2 weeks ago's winner, Jordan Ashburn. He doubled out of here last time, and he does again. He's the only one we've seen kind of pulling that move. Jordan has.
Are you shocked?
No, I mean, Jordan
doing that though.
Yeah, Jordan has great technical ability.
Yeah.
We've seen him again. We talked about it before, competing in TKO and some hard enduro events. I mean, this guy's got amazing bike. All these guys do, but Jordan, really kind of almost next level with the bike skills.
You talk about the recovery or coming back from injury, coming back to racing. It's dry, it's rough, but it's also really hot out here as well.
Yeah, no, heat definitely a factor here this weekend, and I think fitness is going to come into play later, and also hydration. It's easy to kind of get caught up in the moment when you're racing and you're so focused on, not wanting to give up milliseconds, let alone seconds, but you see these guys being very mindful of that today, and almost every time given the opportunity, we see them taking those hydration bottles when they are offered. You really do have to stay completely on top of hydration on a race like today. It's hot, it's in probably the, mid to upper 80s, and, the the dust is a factor as well, and it's kind of drying out your mouth. So anything you can do to stay hydrated. Here comes the number 1 of Jordan Ashburn, still running in a podium position in that 3rd place spot. Doesn't have a bottle hanging, but likely will.
There it was.
Yep, it looked like he grabbed one. Might have a little chat with Mary there. It looked like she was a little close out of the corner. Probably, hey, take a couple steps back, make it a little easier on me. Always cool to see like how these teams practice that stuff at home, and these guys are able to grab the bottles at pretty inopportune times, it seems like, and somehow they make it look seamless.
Well, and we even talked about it a little bit yesterday, but everybody's got their individual role. I asked if somebody puts your goggles on and the goggle strap gets flipped over, does that bother the racers? Cody Collier said, yeah, that's why I have to put my goggles on. We see Bryson Neal, he does his own gas. Here on the bike side, they've got their own system as well. And there's Johnny Gerard taking a look over at the pit board. Bottles already swinging. He is off and rolling. Interesting to see those riders kind of popping up over that berm. That's about the 3rd rider I've seen do it. There is Stu Baylor not far off at all within eyesight, and Ricky Russell has latched onto the back of him.
Yeah, so that is your 4, 5, and 6 positions as they run through. Here is Grant Baylor in 7th. Was a little bit closer when we saw him last, so maybe hard to tell if maybe he might have stopped for fuel off camera. And there is Ben Kelly in 8th. So that is as they run 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next up, we should see the 739 of Trevor Bollinger in that number 9 spot, and then the 17 of Josh Trang rounding out the top 10 in that XC1 Pro class. And on cue, there he is, the 739 of Trevor Bollinger. Welcome back to GNCC Racing. Good to have him back, and like we talked about a little bit earlier, seeing that class grow to its full potential. We still got a few guys out on injured reserve, but good to have them coming back one at a time.
It's interesting. The big story, obviously, the 7 winners, 7 different rounds. To add to that, Josh Strang right there, to add to that, last year the story was so many riders out for multiple rounds with injuries. This year, not the case. Everybody's, pretty healthy right now for the most part, but everybody's had that one-off race where they've struggled. Leader on screen, Craig DeLong still doing his thing out in front, but overall it's just been even across the field. Hey, I got to win. I've also got that race I'd like to forget.
Yeah, I think the one guy, as he came on screen, that's been probably arguably the most consistent, he hasn't had the DNF or the really bad score, is Craig DeLong.
Yeah.
He's kind of been, I don't want to say the most consistent, because obviously he's not the points leader, but he is sitting there in 2nd behind Stu Baylor. And he's just hasn't had the DNF for the outside the top 10 like basically all of the other guys in the class have had so far.
And to his point, to your point, Craig was the guy last year, same situation. He was consistent. He was always there. He was the last remaining piece in that fight against Jordan.
He was the last guy to still be alive in that title fight as it came down to the final races after summer break. And what I think we saw out of Craig going back to 2022 is when he was still in that title fight, we saw a whole new fight out of Craig. We saw him for the first time really take the fight to Jordan Ashburn at the Burr Oak, where he wasn't able to seal the deal and grab the win. Jordan actually grabbed the win and wrapped up the championship that day. But that said, Craig DeLong led the majority of that race and really put the hammer down, and that's the first time we'd seen him kind of assert himself as a potential race winner, getting the job a little bit earlier done finally this year. And now looking to back it up today. I mean, we're an hour into this thing and haven't been a lot of changes in terms of positions and or the gaps, and I think again that lends itself to, although on screen it looks like vision is not really that much of an issue, something is separating these guys, and we're not seeing those wheel-to-wheel battles and position swaps like we're used to seeing so far in 2023. Is that Cody Barnes?
Yes, I do believe that is the 99 Phoenix Honda.
Not ideal. He was running up and well into a podium position. We saw him in second. At one point, he had dropped back a little bit. They are working on something looking like on the fork leg of that machine, potentially swapping out a front brake system would be my guess, just seeing by the tools they had out, and looked like they might be trying to get the brake line loose to swap a full system from another machine, or had a spare sitting there in wait.
Jackson Burrow, if you're down there, head on over to Phoenix Racing Honda pits. See if we can get a word in with those guys. See what's going on with Cody Barnes. Tough break for him. 2 laps in, Craig DeLong leading it. Lane Michael in the 2 spot. Jordan Ashburn in 3rd. Johnny Gerard 4th. And Stu Baylor's checked in the number 5 position. Here we go.
Go ahead.
I thought that was battle on screen, leader on screen.
That's our leader on screen, and it's starting to show. I mean, if the race is going to shake itself up as they start getting into lappers, that's a great opportunity. Especially if you're the leader, Craig DeLong. A lot of times, we talk about it taking a bottle every chance you get, he waves off that bottle from his girlfriend Katie and says, nope, no go. I'm on a mission. I want to make dust. I don't need to drink right now. Keep in mind, these guys, almost all of them do also have some type of a hydration system on them. So those bottles that they're taking in most cases are to augment their hydration. In a lot of cases, they'll tailor the bottles during different parts of the races for different things. Some of them will just be pure water. Some of them will have a liquid IV type or a scratch additive to them that has electrolytes. Towards the end of the race, a lot of guys will even take like a pure sugar infusion, if you will. A lot of guys will take a flat Coke. I know back in the day, Craig DeLong was known for that. They would take a bottle of Coke, they would shake it up, and they would get all the foam out of it because then it kind of irritates your stomach, but it still had the sugar and all of the kind of boost, all that real good stuff. But when you're that depleted, 2 hours, 2.5 plus hours into a GNCC race, just that little bit of a spike in the, kind of adrenaline rush you get as a result is enough to kind of get you through that last lap. Right now, looking like he doesn't need much of anything except for a heavy right throttle hand, and he's got that part figured out.
Without a doubt, putting in work. And you talk about making dust. You don't think there's any strategy to that, is there? Just take all the outsides and just dust everybody out.
Well, it's funny you mention that. Although we said this isn't a silty track like we've seen here at the Mason-Dixon before, we will see a lot of times these guys kind of tiptoeing that edge of right on the edge of the outside where they can get traction, but not getting too deep into the berms, because as the race wears on, all that dust has a tendency to push to the outside, making those silt berms, and there is nothing worse for your air filter than berm blasting in silt, and that is the different thing about dirt bikes as opposed to ATVs. Like with ATVs, you're kind of ingesting the dust from your front wheels. On the dirt bikes, it seems to be more so when they really start getting deep into the berms and berm blasting, coming in, clutching it hard, coming out, that's where they're making a ton of dust and sucking it into their own air filter. So you can see right there on screen, Craig not going fully deep into the fluff, trying to square corners off where he can, but you're absolutely right, Zach. Like anything you can do, maybe drag the brake a little bit. In some cases, I've heard stories, don't know if it's true, guys riding in dusty sections with their feet off intentionally and dragging their feet, trying to make more dust on the last lap or throughout, trying to make it harder for the rider behind him. All, hey, strategy, man. It's all within the rules.
All's fair in love in GNCC.
Absolutely. There's a lot of strategy that goes into this, and it looks like we have Jackson Burrell down in the Phoenix Honda pits with an update on Cody Barnes.
Yeah, I'm here with the Phoenix Honda boys. Could you just clarify what is with Cody Barnes?
Cody's doing good. We might have had a tip over. He bumped a tree. We don't know. We didn't have time to discuss what it was, but we done a whole complete brake system.
So complete brake swap going on.
Complete.
All right. That's what's with Cody Barnes here at Phoenix Honda.
Well, so there we go. That was exactly what it looked like. They were swapping a complete. Wayne made sure to let us know. Complete front brake system. And we talked about that before. It absolutely is the best way to do it. The amount of time that it takes to bleed, likely my guess would be if he made contact with a tree or had a crash, potentially damaging the master cylinder and or even breaking the line loose. And at that point, rather than trying to bleed it, that's a tedious process that can be very frustrating, even in the shop under perfect conditions, let alone, while there's a race going on and every second counts. So these guys practice this stuff at home. They had likely, that Phoenix Honda team is top tier. I would be shocked if they didn't have an extra brake system sitting there ready to roll for just such an instance. And as you can see, he's already out on the track. Wouldn't be surprised to see him claw his way back well inside the top 10, score some valuable points towards that XC2 championship here today.
Yeah, that Phoenix Racing Honda team really been an impressive force here in the XC2 class. Each one of their riders finding themselves on the top step of the podium at one point or another. Got to be satisfied, even running into some bad luck today.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to talk about factoids, 7 overall winners in 7 different rounds. Phoenix Honda, 3 different XC2 winners in 7 rounds. I mean, that is incredibly. And Rui Barbosa back-to-back earlier in the season. So, those guys at each of them have obviously proven to be a force in that class, and that speaks volumes about that program that David Eller and Phoenix Honda have put together over there. And, Wayne's obviously got things under control in the pits. And, hey, when Cody came in, didn't sound like Wayne was willing to talk. He said, hey, tell me about your story later. Let's just get you back out on the track.
Get this fixed.
Let me get it fixed and keep on keeping on. So right now, Cody back out on track.
Lane Michael there on screen still chasing the 342. That is not the bike directly in front of him. That is Lapped Rider. But still there, 12th 12.7 seconds when they checked in at the completion of lap number 2, 7.5 the lap before that. So, give or take a 5-second change in the gap, but still right there, and 35 seconds back to Jordan Ashburn. So that's where things are starting to open up. It was 29.9 a lap before. Looked like just part ways into lap 2, Jordan had made some inroads and was starting to close the gap up. Well, now it's opened back up. So
that's right.
It's definitely one of those things where, these guys are pushing for all they're worth, and it gets frustrating when you just can't make up those time gaps.
Be interesting to keep our eyes on Lane Michael. As you know, Johnny, he showed this kind of speed early in these races before, and then sort of falls back a few spots as we get into that second and third hour. But Lane Michael almost playing with house money. He's coming off of some injury, new dad.
Yeah, I was just going to say, a new motivation.
New motivation, that's right. And it's kind of like, whoa, we got the baby.
That wasn't 12 seconds.
I was about to say, that looks significant.
Lane Michael's making a run.
He said they're talking about me trying to put on a show.
Mikey Wayne starts talking about how he's got some things to do today. Well, he starts getting work done.
And you know what? Not to mention, I snubbed him on the starting line. I said, well, hey, Trevor Bollinger's back, and Josh Strang's out there. We got 2 guys out there with a shot who don't have a win. Well, Lane Michael is that 3rd guy on the starting line, too. So if I'm Lane Michael, I say, hey, Mikey, watch this, bud.
Yeah.
Go get that first OA.
Yeah. I mean, home track.
Yeah.
A lot of fans here. I did see, I believe, I haven't spoken with her this weekend. I did see his wife Hunter here, so I'm assuming that means that the new baby, the new Michael, is here as well. And that said, I mean, what better motivation than want to try to go out there and kind of show the new addition to the family what Daddy does.
That's it. What's Daddy do for a living? He wins races.
Trying to bring home a W.
That's it.
Jordan Ashburn right now, typical Jordan, he puts himself in good positions. I don't think you really see Jordan Ashburn ride over his head a lot. He's one of those guys where, hey, this is what I got today. If it's a first, fantastic. If it's a third at the moment, fantastic. But I think Jordan, he even said it in his interviews. He knows himself. He knows what he's able to get. He knows how he feels on each individual race, and so many different things. Getting a look at Johnny Girard there. So many different things go into a race. Jordan right now hanging out there in that 3rd place spot, and he's got a healthy gap back to Johnny Girard there. And curious to see, there is Stu.
Still the same order.
Yeah. And then,
Ooh, that was an aggressive little swap there from Ricky Russell. Still Grant Baylor there, just behind Ricky, and we should see the
almost like he hit those roots at the bottom of that tree there.
Ben Kelly has lost some ground, it appears, unless we missed him in our camera pan there, because he was much closer when they came through in our last camera shot. Nope, there he is. He was only 8 seconds behind Grant Baylor, and that is more than 8 seconds now. So he has definitely lost some ground here in the early miles of lap number 3. So much so, in fact, that he's got pressure from behind from the 739 of Trevor Bollinger, who was quite a ways behind him in our last camera shot. So don't know if that was a miscue on the part of Ben, or possibly just a bad couple miles there. Josh Strang hanging tough there, still in that number 10 spot. And it's funny. We talked about how the XC2 would factor into this. Well, I think what's happened is they've kind of hit that wall of dust, and there is Liam Draper, making it harder for him to charge once he's got close to Strang, but hasn't actually been able to get to the rear wheel yet. There is, I believe that was the 35 of Angus Riordan there in second. Didn't catch a shot of the number plates, but he was really close behind Liam Draper, and that is 1 and 2 in that XC2 Pro Lights class.
And then we see the gap, and the question is, how big is that gap? Because I feel like, who should we be seeing next in that XC2? I know Barnes was up there, but
Witkowski was there. Rui Barbosa wasn't too far off. A bunch of guys were up in there. Again, Cody Barnes was right there, but we know he's had an unscheduled pit stop.
Now, when he checked in, he was back in 11th, so 11th in class. Cody Barnes.
So one of his teammates there, Mike Witkowski.
Well, keep in mind, Mikey, he would have checked in after his pit stop.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Because the pits are before the scoring loop, so that would have showed him that was after they made that change. So there is 3rd place, did come by there on screen, and it was still the 282 of Witkowski, and the rider we just saw was the number 10 of Ryder Lafferty. So that is 3 and 4 in that XC2 Pro Lights class. Here comes what looks to be the number 14 of Rui Barbosa, rounding out the top 5. A former 2-time winner earlier this season, and one of that trio of Phoenix Honda riders who's been able to grab wins here in 2023. Now we see Thor Powell in the pits there, getting some attention to his YZ125, the Triangle Cycles machine. Looks like, hard to tell, possibly they're working on something. Hey guys, they're working on something on the rear brake system. So brakes, the story of the day. Looks like they're messing with the master cylinder though, so they're not, doesn't look like a full swap, maybe trying to add some fluid or bleed the system itself, but that's exactly what it looks like they're working on there.
Tough break there for the 15 machine of Thor Powell. But yeah, brakes do seem to be a frequent issue here at the moment. We even saw some of that yesterday as well. Is it just we know this is a little bit higher speed of a course, or just coincidence?
Well, the situation with Cody Barnes sounds like he made some contact either with the ground or a tree or another rider, damaging his system. This looks to be possibly a bleeding, which could be a situation where the brakes have overheated. You know, a lot of times when you're riding in the dust, a little bit of insight, you know, you're right a little nervous, and you have a tendency to kind of leave that foot on the pedal just in case something, you know, a tree, a small vermin, something pops out of the.
We had a squirrel yesterday, so you're right. Yeah,
pops out of the dust at you, and you can't anticipate. So you want to be ready for those brakes to kind of try to avoid anything that comes your way. That is pure speculation, but that could be the situation. Or you know, air can develop into those systems. If there's a small air bubble, everything seems like it's fine. You get out there and it rears its ugly head. 342 of Craig DeLong still leading the way. Folks, he grabbed the hole shot and has not looked back other than that one time in the telephone poles. And whoa, Craig DeLong, if you do look back, you're going to see Lane Michael a lot closer than he was. That is not 12 seconds. That gap has come down. Again, maybe back even less than that 7 seconds it was on lap 1. Lane Michael putting in a charge, and so far the only rider that's seeming to be able to solve the riddle that is Craig DeLong today. Pull the hole shot, make dust, don't look back. And Lane Michael say, well, you know, I think I got something for you, and I got something to prove today, and so far it's been looking really good for him.
Yeah, I was about to say, we thought Lane was going to maybe gradually start to fade back a little bit, welcoming back, sitting comfortably in that second place spot, but he says, no, I'm charging and now closing that gap down back to DeLong. Now we see the Magna 1 Husqvarna of Jordan Ashburn still there in third.
Yeah, looking solid. You know, Jordan is such a technically sound rider. He's just kind of always hitting his lines and making it work. It's not pretty. It's not necessarily the flashiest riding style, but he just gets it done, and that's what always has him in the thick of these championship hunts as they start to develop later in the season.
So now we sit here at mile number 5.
Should be Stu Baylor.
Should be the 514.
With pressure from the 212 of Ricky Russell and Grant Baylor. Those guys have kind of been that, or sorry, Johnny Gerard next. Yeah. My bad. Yep. We skipped right over Johnny. Johnny Gerard in 4th, but that gap has opened up for sure. He was 39 seconds back, and that gap is bigger. Here he is, the 969, former race winner earlier in the year from that Red Bull FMF KTM team. And you saw on the pit board there, so there, that was Stu Baylor, Ricky Russell, and looks like they pulled out just a bit.
There's Grizzly Gray.
On the 314, that Babbitt's online Monster Energy Kawasaki of Grant Baylor. The pit board there said filter check for Johnny Gerard. So when they come in for fuel this lap, it sounds like they are going to pull his side panel, have a look at that filter, and determine if they need to maybe pull a filter skin, potentially swap a filter altogether. You know, the KTM team is kind of seeming to be on the side of caution with that after some costly issues they've had in years past.
Well, we got a good one going here in round number 8. The Parts Unlimited Mason-Dixon GNCC. Craig DeLong trying to become our first 2-time winner of 2023. Or will we keep it going? Lane Michael knocking on the door. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Yamaha YZ450F. Narrower, more compact, and lighter. Built to do one thing: go faster. Flexible financing options offered directly through Yamaha are available. See your local Yamaha dealer today.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment, whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends. Professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
AMSOIL runs on freedom and has since 1972. We punish our products firsthand in our world-class laboratories and beyond, because some things can't be learned from a test tube. Run with us.
Last season was my best season ever by far. I won a lot of races. I won a championship, and it was also my first year using ARMA. And one of the things I noticed was just my ability to string good days together. You know, like especially in the summertime in Florida, where you're riding every day and the heat index is 108 degrees, and you're doing 230s, and going to the gym and bicycle and all that stuff. I think in the past I've been super inconsistent day to day. Yeah, I may have a good race here or a good day during the week there, but overall, I think where I improved the most was my consistency in my recovery.
GNCC Racing is brought to you by Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
His dad.
And welcome back to RacerTV.com. You are watching round number 8 of the 2023 Grand National Cross Country Racing Series. Of course, this was footage taken, I'm going to guess, Thursday?
Yeah, there's a lot of people here now.
We have packed it out. Hey, Friday was fun. Morgantown Power Sports putting it on. Fan Fest and the XC1 pros from the two-wheel side of things came out in droves to sign some autographs. Stu Baylor in-house, making the fans happy. I got to hand it, I can't remember the name of the mega fan, super fan, had a giant bag full of plastics he'd gathered over probably the last 10 years. And he knew who they belonged to, what team the guy was on, what year. There's a thing of beauty. And the dunk tank.
They tried Craig DeLong going in there. No, is that Thad Duvall? Yep.
Thad Duvall in the dunk tank. I put Lane Michael in the dunk tank. Maybe he's mad at me. Maybe that's why he's riding so well.
He's riding angry today.
He's riding angry.
Stu Baylor getting in there as well. And this is such a cool opportunity. On race day, these guys they're in race mode. You know, they get chat for a second, but they got a job to do. But here they really get to hang out and chit-chat with the fans. Look, Stu getting back in for more. He's not worried.
The only thing that could have made Stu Baylor happier is if that was filled with Stu juice. Maybe a little bit of Busch Light, I believe is his.
Busch Lattes.
Oh, leader on screen, the 342 of Craig DeLong coming through the Specialized for us. And
was that Michael behind him?
Somebody behind him.
Is it the 5-2-3?
Look at this, folks. Get excited if you are a hometown West Virginia, Pennsylvania fan. Lane Michael has put in a charge and is now on the rear wheel of Craig DeLong. And folks, this one's about to get interesting. We are expecting to see some pit stops here when they make it into the pit area.
Yeah, now, Johnny, you even said earlier in the race, pit strategy is going to be crucial. We saw Johnny Gerard's pit board saying, hey, we're going to check the air filter. What do you think as far as the next time they come around to the pits? What are you expecting to see?
I'm expecting to see a lot of these guys put in a, is this a new leader, or did we? Well, nope, I saw a shadow in front of him. I believe Craig DeLong did go through in the lead there still at what we're showing is mile marker number 1. They're coming through, and wow. There's, yeah, no, there we go.
Oh, the zero popped.
Mile marker number 10. Yeah, the 0 just was not showing on screen there for a minute.
They hadn't loaded yet.
Yeah, they, so these guys are working their way through some woods where they're going to pop out into a couple open fields. We'll have that Yamaha Racing live drone shot. Hopefully, if these guys are mixing it up. As exciting as this race has been, we haven't actually seen many wheel-wheeled battles, and we've seen almost no position changes in the XC1 class. XC2 has been a bit of a shake-up. Liam Draper charging his way through, but that XC1, it's been Craig DeLong, it's been Lane Michael, it's been Jordan Ashburn, Johnny Gerard, Stu Baylor, in that order all the way through since the start of this race nearly an hour and a half ago. We're halfway through, and again, there is the number 1 of Jordan Ashburn on screen, still in that final podium spot, but the gap is growing back, and that may be a function of Lane Michael starting to push the pace and Craig DeLong saying, man, I got this whole shot. I don't want to eat your dust. I don't want to give up the lead.
Yeah, I was about to say, it definitely does not seem like it's Jordan Ashburn falling off the pace. He's still charging hard, as now we get that Yamaha live drone, and you talk about the dust zone. Lane Michael's eating a lot of it right now.
He is, yeah, and unfortunately for Lane, he's not close enough where he's kind of getting through the dust before it rises up. You actually can get close enough to someone where if you're right on their rear wheel, you can actually get through the dust before it rises up to your helmet level, so it's almost a non-factor. He's back there right now just eating all of it. So is his gas machine. I mean, ingesting a lot of dust right now. Wouldn't be shocked to see him do a filter change or at least a filter check. Also, same goes for Craig DeLong. You know, that entire Rockstar Husky team, the KTM guys, you know, the Yamaha. I wouldn't be shocked to see any or all of these guys take an extra 10-15 seconds, take a look at that filter. And the way the gaps are right now, aside from the battle for the lead, which we just saw on screen, they can afford to do it. It's a little bit of an insurance policy.
John, let me ask you, you're the rider. You're going to have more perspective than what I can give, but depending on what brand you're riding, makes it a little easier as opposed to another machine. Specifically, the Kawasaki's a little more difficult to change, or correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that was torturous a couple years ago. Yeah. We saw Josh Strang in. They had to pull the seat off. You know, they got to get under there, and they just couldn't seem to get that filter changed very fast at all. Right. And when they did finally get it changed, they couldn't get the machine refired. So if there were a team that were likely to shy away from that, I would say it'd be that Babbitt's online Monster Energy Kawasaki team. You know, and again, I just don't think, based on what I'm seeing on screen, as well as having been out there during this morning race, yes, it's dusty, no question. Here we go, battle on screen. That is the 342 of Craig DeLong getting thick into the lappers, and Lane Michael looking like he has a laser sight on Craig DeLong, trying to get right to that rear wheel like we talked about. But so they're going to go along the edge of this fence here. When they come back in, they are going to be headed into that GBC Tires pit stop area, and we're going to see, are we seeing filter changes? Is it just gas and go? I'm sure we're going to see some hydration bottles being taken on, but right now this is the battle for the lead, folks, and what an exciting one if you are a couple of hometown-ish boys here battling it out over this win here today in XC1 and the overall. Nearly an hour and a half into this one, 3 laps, leads me to believe that we'll be looking at a 6-lap race. I don't know that we've heard that official word yet, but all things point to that being the case.
Now getting a look at some of the riders deeper in the pack there, and it just goes to show these guys make it look so easy at the front of the field. It's a little bit more of a reality check for those. That would be similar to if I was out there.
That's Dirt Bike John right there.
And he's getting over it.
That's what happens to me when I try to go through those lanes.
Notice the front number plate's gone on that.
I saw that rider come through, and I'm like, man, it kind of looks like Jordan Ashburn, but he doesn't have a front number plate. And then lo and behold, it was. Here we go. Here is the answer. No filter check, it seems, for Craig DeLong. Gas, goggles, bottle, and a little water down the back from my girlfriend Katie there, and GBC Tires pit stop, out and on his way. Now Lane Michael, being that he does ride for a satellite gas team, kind of his own, frankly, looking like he did not. I don't know where the gas rig is, so it could be around the corner and he could still be fueling. But you know what, folks? We're going to find out. Was his pit fast enough to take the lead? Did he take a filter? We didn't have a camera on him, unfortunately, because it is kind of a horseshoe pit setup this weekend. But that said, the finish line is coming up, and we're going to see that electronic scoring leap in, and I would not be shocked to see the 5:23 of Lane Michael leading the way. And as exciting as it would be, I think if I could get in Lane's helmet, I would almost say, like, hey, bud, just let Craig do the work. You know, just stay just out of his dust zone, because you guys have got a pretty... Oh, well, that answers that. Craig DeLong able to get out and still hold on to Lane Michael there in the number 2 spot. Now we see Jordan Ashburn on screen. No filter maintenance, checkup, anything for Jordan either. A little surprised by that, actually.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think, you know, we saw that on the KTM pit boards, and I think those guys are gun shy because of some things that have happened here in recent years. So I think they're going to just play the insurance game. But it looks like Stu Baylor has gotten around Johnny Gerard. Here we see Ricky Russell in for some fuel, some goggles. We see a drink bottle hanging, and if the camera pans left, yep, Johnny Gerard had given up those spots. He just came in, so he was behind that whole group. Something had to have transpired, and they are going to take a look at that air filter, and this is going to be a lot of time lost, it looks like, for Johnny Gerard after already having a bit of a struggle there. So he drops all the way from 4th back to, I believe, would be 6th or 7th. We'll see when they check in. But he was passed by Baylor, Russell, and potentially Grant Baylor as well, because I don't see him over there in that Kawasaki pit area. So I think he may have given up 3 spots, dropping from 4th back to 7th is what it looks like.
Johnny, do you anticipate Ben Kelly following suit right here?
I think they are going to want to do just that. And Ben Kelly actually had given up a spot to the 739 of Trevor Bollinger. Looking like they do have a filter in hand. They have not started that process yet.
Looking at something on the handguard there, it almost looked like.
Something going on there with the looking like no filter for Ben Kelly. So maybe they saw enough with Johnny Gerard. Oh, look at this. Dropping all the way back to behind Josh Trank. So that would mean him now back in the 10th place in that XC1. Yeah, that's... Not a great spot points-wise for Ben Kelly. He's going to need to put on a charge to get himself back up in the mix. But this guy right here put on a charge and has now stretched it out over the 5:23 of Lane Michael, just a few seconds from when we saw them last.
Yeah, Lane lost a little bit of time. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, how about this? Craig DeLong on a pit stop lap runs a 29:59.91. That is faster than the lap number 2 for Lane Michael at 29:29. No, I guess it's not. 29:29. Thought it was a 29:59. Forget I said anything. Just kidding. Nonetheless, still an 11-second lead for DeLong over Lane Michael right now.
Yeah, so we've seen that lead at 7, 12, now at 11. We know they were wheel-to-wheel just a few turns ago, essentially. So we do see some lap riders coming through, and we know those guys are factoring into this race as well. We should be seeing the number 1, the front number plate list number 1 of Jordan Ashburn coming through, and at that point, 35.8 seconds was the gap at the completion of lap number 2. Now 3 laps in, halfway through this race. Here we see, looks like it has grown a bit, and it is Mikey Wayne's.
It is 50.360.
So giving up about 15 seconds on that 3rd lap of racing. Jordan Ashburn putting in a push earlier in the race, and just so far not able to match the pace of the 2 up front. Almost starting to look that it could turn into essentially a 2-rider battle for the lead, for the win here today at the Mason-Dixon GNCC. And those 2 riders, Craig DeLong leading the way, Lane Michael second. Now we see the 4th place ride of Ricky Russell, looking like he did get around the 5:14 of Stu Baylor. There is Baylor. There is other Baylor. So Baylor on Baylor absolutely battling this one out, and they have all gotten around this man, the 969 of Johnny Gerard, changing an air filter. And I'll tell you what, he put in a pretty good charge in that short amount of distance there, because he left the pits a good bit after them, and now he has them in sight. So maybe that long pit stop and whatever happened before the pit stop that looked like he had already given up those spots have reinvigorated the fight in Johnny Gerard, and he's wanting to get himself back up and back to battling for that 4, 5, 6 position, currently sitting in 7th.
We talk about Lane Michael there. He was cutting down cutting down the lead there to about 7 seconds, but right after the pit, he loses that time again. It's kind of demoralizing there. I just did all that work to lose it again. So I'm curious to see whether Lane Michaels able to push that pace and close the gap once again.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I want to see a battle for the win and I want to see a battle for that front position, I think if you're Lane Michael, like, you should be having a little party inside your helmet, to be running in that number 2 spot an hour and a half into this, halfway through the race and still within sight of the leader, and he can't hear me, but if he could, I'd say, buddy, manage your expectations, manage your race. Like, you are putting in a phenomenal performance right now. Don't overdo it. Don't, you likely came in today just kind of wanting to get a solid top 10 and dreaming of a top 5. Currently running second an hour and a half in. That is way above expectations, above par. So take it, run with it. Don't put any pressure on yourself and let the race come to you. And seems to be exactly what Craig DeLong is doing. I mean, he's looked in control of this one from the drop. It's maybe too early to start talking about, but will Craig DeLong be the first repeat winner of 2023? We've got both scenarios that could hypothetically play out here, both equally exciting. Craig DeLong, coming through, winning his second round, would likely, as things run right now, would actually propel him back up into or near the points lead. But the inverse of that is true. Lane Michael wins. First XC1 win ever. The 8th XC1 winner of 2023, coming in off injury. I mean, you talk about excitement, that would bring it all.
Yeah, no, it's kind of one of those things, Johnny, you and I even talked about it. When you look, you're one of these XC1 riders, and you look across the start line, and pretty much everybody. I mean, Josh Strang hadn't gotten a win this year, but many-time winner here at GNCC. Every single rider is capable of it. The confidence that comes with being the first to do it a second time out here, I think is a overwhelming thing to point out there, because it's like, we all know now it's almost, hey, don't have the bad race. Don't throw away all the points. Just try to get the best results that you can each and every weekend. But to be able to say, every one of these guys is capable of winning, and I've done it twice now, going to be a big advantage moving forward into the season.
Yeah, and Craig talked about it in his interview, about being there all of last season. There he goes on screen. Throughout the entire year, he was the last man that was contending against Jordan Ashburn, and he talked about what a confidence boost that was for him coming into this season. Well, talked to Stu Baylor. He said, hey, a win would be great, but right now I have the points lead. I want to be mature enough to maintain that, so I need to finish in front of Craig. I need to finish in front of Ben Kelly. Not the case right now. Now Craig DeLong, if he comes away with 2 wins, first guy with 2, suddenly things are looking really, really good as we head into one more round before summer break. To me, the guy who wins the second race, the first guy to have his second win of the season, so pivotal to the last few rounds of the season.
I agree completely, Mikey, especially with the way the season has shaped up. I mean, like you said, there's been so much parity, so many changes from race to race. You can see Craig looking like he's getting held up a little bit by a lapped rider, and Lane putting in a charge. We may see Lane get back to the rear wheel of Craig again. Yeah, this is the part we don't normally get to see, and thank you so much to this Yamaha Racing Yamaha Live drone for bringing us this action, even with the coverage and the foliage that, they're able to get down in there, get the angles, and show us these things develop. You can see Craig was just behind that, and he was panic revving and screaming, and that lap rider really just didn't have anywhere to go short of running himself into the trees. So costly seconds for Craig DeLong. We'll see how that pans out here in our next camera shot. But yeah, 100% agree with you, Mikey. Whoever it is, whoever's able to get that second win first. And I think maybe a little bit of extra for Craig DeLong, being that earlier this season was his first win of his career. So to be able to go from battling for a championship last year without getting a win to getting 2 wins in the first 8 races, and being the first guy to get 2 wins, I think really truly does put him, in the driver's seat, regardless of what the points say, towards, working his way towards this 2023 GNCC overall championship.
Gonna be good. Been good so far. And Lane Michael, like you said, there's 2 huge stories there. Three, because that would be Lane's first win. So yeah.
House money, like you said.
House money.
Right now, he's playing with house money, and it's just a great feeling for him. His friends and family got to be just lining the track, and as we pointed out earlier, don't know for sure, but I believe Blake Madden, his little girl, is here. Sorry, Madden Blake. Got it backwards.
Yeah, there you go.
Madden Blake, is the family's first little girl, is here. So many of these XC1 21 guys that we've watched grow up, now fathers, have families of their own. It's a pretty cool thing to see. And a lot of times, we had Lane on an episode of the podcast earlier this year talking about it, and he said he felt like, the whole being a dad, kind of losing his ride at AmPro last year, it all kind of happened at a good time for him, and he felt like it was time for him to, kind of revitalize his career in terms of GNCC. Obviously, he's, multi-time sprint enduro champion, multi-time ISDE gold medal winner, and part of one of the two winning ISDE trophy teams over the years. The guy's a great sprinter, and he's got great GNCC skill set. It's just, bringing it late into these races. Now an hour and 40 in, and so far, don't want to jinx anything, but no chinks in the armor. He's just right there, rock solid, looking great.
Now the test begins for Lane Michael.
Yeah,
over the halfway point of this one.
And this is where you start to watch the body language, right? Even in these sections, you see some of the lap riders. The elbows dropping. When they come through the bumps, is the whole torso fluctuating with it, and so those top guys, they just have such strict form, and technique is everything in this, right? And as you get more and more tired, the technique starts to slip to the back of the mind, and that's also where you start to see the simple mistakes being made as well.
You just got to hang on, and if you're going to do those things, do it after you take a checkered flag like Cole Richardson yesterday.
Did I?
Well, we'll wait and watch here. We've got the 3-mile marker coming up, and we're told we may have exciting things popping up on screen. Things are changing so quickly, we don't want to make any assumptions, but as we watch, it is, folks, the 5:23 of Lane Michael has taken the lead here on lap number 4, and this man is on a mission, making dust, and he has opened up a gap already over the 3:42 of Craig DeLong, so something transpired in that few miles of racetrack there. Wow!
Mistake, lapper, something. The machine looked all right, Craig looked all right. I got to think maybe a lapper got in the way, and Lane was right place, right time, capitalizes.
I mean, we saw him get hung up there, but I don't think that was enough unless it continued once we lost him in the drone shot there.
That could have been exactly it. That's a great point, Zach. When we last saw him, Craig was hung up in that lap rider was going slower than the race pace. Maybe he just got impatient, ran it in, tried to pass the lapper. It's so easy to tangle bars, and hit the deck. Could have been that, or maybe Lane Michael just ran it in and said, hey, buddy, the out front is the best place to be, and that's the place for me. I know those guys are good friends and get along, but hey, when it's a potential win and a point position in a GNCC, all bets are off. We know Jordan Ashburn likely had some contact with something, or someone, to lose that front number plate, but still solidly in that third place spot, backing up that win from just 2 weeks ago in Ohio.
Now, you guys have talked about Lane Michael's sprint speed. He gets this lead, however it ended up happening. Does the excitement, does the adrenaline get to him, and do we see him try to put a burner down right now and get away, or does he take a breath and just try to take what he's got?
A couple things there. I think if, again, race strategy-wise, I think if you're Lane Michael, sure, there's that temptation, world-class sprint speed, to go out there, put down a burner, try to open up a 15, 20, maybe more second gap on Craig to get the pressure off. But I honestly think at this point, the best thing Lane could do is just ride the track, let Craig do what Craig's going to do. If he gets up, put some pressure, just ride your lines. And if Craig is that aggressive and is able to make the pass, by all means, go back to where you were in second. Don't throw away a podium trying to win this thing by a minute. Just let the race come to you. Look at this, folks. Johnny Gerard on a charge, closed up a little bit, but the big thing I noticed there, the 2:12 of Ricky Russell, much, much, much closer to Jordan Ashburn than that 26 seconds we see on screen. It was 26 seconds at scoring. Looked like it was about 6 seconds, maybe. So right now it looks like Ricky Russell, the 2:12 AmPro Yamaha, is the man on a mission, man on a charge, and he has closed up the gap to within striking distance of that final podium position, Jordan Ashburn. And then just behind them, it was the brothers Baylor throwing down. We have not seen this yet so far in 2023. We have seen it over the years, but in 2023, we have not seen these two go toe-to-toe and really throw down. It seems like the races, obviously the race that Grant won, Stu was not even a factor in. He did not finish. In all the other races, it seems like Stu has just been a little notch ahead of Grant, and we haven't really even seen them linked up on the track at all.
They're getting a look at the other Babbitt's Online Kawasaki, and sounds like we've got Jackson down in the pits with an update.
Can you hear me? There we go. I've got an update on Stu Baylor and Lane Michael. On the opposite side of the pits, they did pit, but Lane Michael did not change the air filter. Stu Baylor did.
All right, so there we go. No air filter change, but both Stu Baylor and Lane Michael did pit on that B side, if you will, of the GBC Tires pit stop area there in the pro row. So those semis take up a lot of room. They line them up back to back, and we pit on both sides. Don't have enough cameras and enough operators to be able to catch it all, but great update there from Jackson Burrell telling us exactly what happened there. So no air filter changes that we saw or heard of except for Johnny Gerard, and actually even his teammate Ben Kelly did not change an air filter. We did see Ben Kelly did work his way back around Josh Strang. Was unclear. I believe he was still behind the 739 of Trevor Bollinger, meaning he's in that 9th spot physically and 9th in XC1. Liam Draper came by and appeared to still be the leader in that XC2 class just as we were breaking away from that camera shot to go to Jackson Burrell. So, Mikey, I don't want to start talking about it yet because, you know, we're an hour and 43 into this. We basically got two and change laps left, and you know, man, Liam Draper, the one that got away, except it was the two that got away. Yeah. The last two races, I mean, right down to the final miles, the final turns, and just so far unable to seal the deal. Right now leading the way, you know there's a little extra motivation for him. At this point, he doesn't want to even be in a battle on the last lap. Yeah. He wants to have a big, massive, you know, gap of minutes where he can ride around and pick flowers because it just has not gone his way. And truly, it really has not, at least the last couple races, hasn't seeming to be anything that he did more than just wrong place, wrong time, specifically in Indiana. You know, in sight of the finish line and a lapper bobbles the line in front of him. Mike Rakowski able to take a much longer kind of arced line around, up through the weeds, completely legal. But Liam was just stuck there and just could do nothing despite his best efforts and watched that win slip away from him. So, you know, still traumatized by that one likely now 4 weeks later.
That's it. Yeah, I talked to him prior to the race, the pre-race report, and yeah, I asked Liam about it. I said, all right, you know what I'm going to ask? Don't hit me. He said, no. He said, if anything, it's motivating me. You know, it's frustrating, but I have to come to the next round, refocus, and just say, this is the one. This is the one. And maybe today is finally that day. Can't think of an XC2 guy that needs it more than him.
And there we go. We've got our leader on screen, Lane Michael, still leading right now. And looking, there goes Craig DeLong. So Craig's on the charge, and I do think he is starting to close that gap up already. And so whatever it was, it's good to see at least the bike appears to be in good condition. He appears to be healthy. So we'll see if DeLong's able to mount a charge and get back around the gas for the lead. But I'm curious, Johnny Gerard, they're the only one that got the air filter. And then we saw, seemed like right after the pit stop, he was back on the charge closing into that group. I'm curious whether or not he was having any issues, and that's why they decided to go ahead and do the swap.
Maybe. Just play the long game here, right?
Yeah. It is possible.
Maintenance.
Sent it deep into a berm, something like that.
Yeah.
And,
just a couple of berm blasts can be all it takes to destroy a filter. Not saying that happened with Johnny. It also could be a situation where, you know, like we talked about before, they were a bit traumatized with some events from years past, wanted to play it safe. Once they were actually able to see Johnny's not only his air filter, but they're also checking the intake behind the filter. You know, the filter itself can look awful. There is Jordan Ashburn. There is your third place rider on screen. Let's see what is the gap back to Ricky Russell. Looking like as he went out of shot there is about 19. So we're at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's opened up back a little bit, but no, see, so about 13, 14 seconds down from 26 at scoring. And I honestly think it was even closer in that last camera shot, but we did not get a clock on it. So, but still, a big change from scoring is basically have that gap, more or less, from what it was at scoring just 5 miles ago.
Yeah, and good to see Ricky there as now we're approaching that 2-hour mark. He's still in the fight. He's still moving forward, and that's what we like to see and expect to see out of the Ampro Yamaha rider. There is Stu Baylor. Looks like he's got just a little breathing room over the Grizzly, but the Bear letting him get away.
The Bear. Love it. Really cool. So I love seeing the Baylors duke it out on the track. We got a little treat today.
Absolutely.
Ben Kelly trying to keep up. Well, we're going to take a short break, get a word in from our sponsors. New leader. Trying to make it 8 different winners and 8 rounds of racing. Lane Michael, can he do it? About the halfway point. We'll be right back after this.
Knotty Tires, a division of Greenball Corp, has been in the tire business for over 44 years. we're passionate about developing quality tires that perform great and bring extraordinary value to our customers. Whether you're looking for a tire that can handle your off-road adventures, need a reliable tire to take you from job site to job site, or simply want a tire with a beefier look that won't break the bank, then check out Canati Tires.
The United States Motorcycle Coaching Association has been setting a standard for motorcycle coaching since 2016. Coaching is important for all riders, no matter the age or skill level. The USMCA connects riders with coaches, whether the rider is just starting out on their motorcycling journey, to a competitive amateur racer looking to reach their next milestone, or the professional athlete trying to clinch a title. Download the Motorcycle Coaching app and get connected to a USMCA certified coach today.
How would you like to go to a school where we take into consideration how students learn best? Well, we do that because we find if we can build the curriculum around the things you are interested in, you're going to do a better job. The mission at On Track School is that educational success is possible while chasing your dreams. Not only will our staff help students to achieve success, they will cheer you on to the finish line. We encourage you to check out On Track School at ontrackschool.com, where we can help you chase your dreams and still get a quality education.
ontrackschool.com. Check it out.
GNCC Racing is brought to you by Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
We talk about four-wheel action racing. We talk about two-wheel action racing, but some of the most intense racing that you're going to see on a GNCC weekend is the Stasic Showdown that takes place on Saturday night. They're cute, they're sweet, they're cuddly, but they mean business, Mikey. I'm telling you what, the race faces up there, it's next level.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're out there looking like two German Shepherds on a milk bone. Okay, I mean, it is just complete pandemonium.
Mohawks flying.
Chaos. Look at them all chomping at the bit. They said, let us at this Stasic horse. A fun event that we really just do for the kids. And, boy, don't tell them they're not racing for points and national titles.
Look at that. Got the back end locked up. Slideways coming through these corners. You know it's serious when they're kicking up dust.
Hey, man. Yeah, I love to see this. And shout out to the crew as well. You know, these guys put in a long day. Nonstop. Go, go, go. And... oh, look at him taking away the inside line right there. Love to see it. Number 9, you got to do some defensive riding.
And we're starting to see the Stasic generation work their way over, and just the racecraft that these young kids have is incredible.
And Liam Draper actually built this track. I asked him about it. I said, well, what did they think? And he goes, it claimed a few kids. He said, but that's good. This is GNCC. So
we need to get a water truck for this.
Dude, apparently. Who knew?
We're going to get some hydration after the race there. And that's the Stasic race recap. So much fun there on Saturday nights. Just one of the endless list of things. And, of course, the 8th annual Mowgli Memorial Dog Show. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more exciting.
Oh, look at that little potato.
Oh, the obstacles were there.
That was actually a dog, Mike.
Oh, it was a dog. It was a dog. Looked like a little old man. Well, that's a child there.
Winning the dog show.
Lead by example there, yeah.
That was good. This lasted until, I think, 2 a.m., actually. It did go pretty late. I think they got to set some rules. Look at that little wiener dog. That's a badger hunter right there. No problems.
Look at that other dog.
Said I wouldn't mind getting a bite.
Yeah. Looks like a snack to that German Shepherd.
Snack dog.
Judges there, they had a hard job. I mean, attire was skills. The little guys really making the most of these tunnel obstacles.
I mean, he doesn't even have to duck down like this poor guy right here.
And we had a couple of riders a little hesitant to send it off some of the singles there, but the tunnels where they really shined out here. And it was a great time for everybody, even some of the dog spectators that came out just to cheer on their buddies. We had past champs, including the past best of show from last year here. It's just so much fun. The 8th annual Mowgli Memorial Dog Show. And there
leader.
Lane Michael, your new leader, leading the way. And then just behind Craig DeLong, getting the wave there from the lapper, letting them do what they need to, handling business up front there in that XC1 class.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks. I mean, the way Lane Michael looks, it does not look like he is too concerned about the fact that we still have 2 laps of racing left. He is pinning it. He is trying to open up a gap over the rider that led most of the way in this one, Craig DeLong. But Craig obviously probably benefiting a little bit from lapped riders right now because that gap had opened up. But Craig, seeing the opportunity to close the gap back up, he's going to do everything he can to try to get back that point position and be the one making the dust rather than eating it.
Going to be interesting to see, and I mean, DeLong looked good. I think it had closed it up even since the last time we saw him there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much of a fight Michael's able to put up, or chooses to put up, if DeLong is able to get right there on the rear wheel as we start to approach that 2-hour mark. And we say it all year long, that final hour is really where things are decided. You've seen things come unraveled for some riders, and then it really seems like some of them have just been waiting on that 2-hour mark. One I'm interested to see is the 212, the Ampro Yamaha. Now we get a look at the Magna 1 Husky. He's been sitting comfortably in third as well, but there it is.
That's not 12 seconds.
Yeah, Ricky Russell is on the move right now.
26 seconds as it was. Wait.
That's our top 2 right there. Lane Michael jumped by, and Craig is all over the back of him. So it does look like we're going to have a fight at the front.
Well, let's talk a little bit. We got about a minute until Jordan Ashburn comes through here. Let's talk a little bit about this situation we have developing between Lane Michael and Craig DeLong. It's interesting. Neither one of these guys, of course, they both want to win, and they both have their reasons why. But a second place for either of these guys today really should be somewhat considered a win for different reasons. For Lane Michael, if you're on the podium today, phenomenal return to action. If you're Craig DeLong, big points day for you. Obviously, you want to maximize your points, and I'm sure when his riding coach and facility manager Craig DeLong's facility manager Caleb Russell hears me say this, he'll say, well, that's why you only ever run one race. Because Craig should want this more than any other win because it's a win and you should want every win. But, it would be a great day for Craig even in second. It would be a huge points day for him. But again, maximizing that and grabbing the top spot and those extra 5 points that come with it would ensure him to leave here not only with the points lead, but a little bit of gap over his nearest competitor in points now, Stu Baylor.
Yeah, and that's why I'm curious to see the fight. Because I think with Lane Michael, if he really does say, hey, man, I want this one bad, just to your point there, Johnny, if he's thinking big picture, we may see DeLong be like, all right, maybe I got to take second today. You're not in the points battle with me. I don't want to throw it away. But to your point as well, Lane Michael hasn't been racing all season long, where DeLong, he's in that race shape. He feels good, and he feels like he belongs at the top step of the podium.
Well, I'm looking at the points here right now, and it is a 10-point gap between the leader, Stu Baylor, and second place, Craig DeLong. So actually, as they run, if Craig DeLong would finish second, that would give him 25 points for second. Stu Baylor, if he finished fifth, which is where we last saw him running, would put him with 16 points. So actually, he would still maintain the lead by 1 point. So Craig does need to get the lead as they run if he wants to leave here the points leader. So a little bit of extra motivation. I was kind of doing the math in my head, and I thought he may be the points leader either way, even if he wasn't second. But it is a 10-point gap. There is 9 points only from essentially second back to fifth, which is where, again, Stu Baylor was running when we last saw him on camera. We'll wait and we'll watch. Will it still be the 5:23 of Lane Michael leading the way? Will it be the 3:42 of Craig DeLong, who's able to wrestle that lead back away after leading virtually the entirety of this up until the last couple of miles, and they should be popping out at any moment.
We caught a glimpse of the legendary High Point Raceway, the Pro Motocross Series coming there in a few weeks, but right now it is all off-road racing here as Lane Michael tries to get it done in his return to the XC1 class. And that's a tough thing to walk into round 8 as well.
Yes, it is. By the way, the leader, Lane Michael. 5:23.
If you're Lane Michael, there is possibly no more relieving sight than seeing a 2-lap card. You know, he knows it. I'm sure that he is aware of how much time is left in this race. That said, Craig DeLong's still getting a nasty little buck off that last telephone pole there. But regardless of it being in the point position or they're in second or anywhere on the podium, you know, Lane Michael is going to be longing for a checkered flag. And the next thing that he will see here in just about a mile and a half is going to be a 2-lap board, meaning 2 more circuits around this Mason-Dixon Matthews family's farm, and he could potentially grab the win here today.
Going to be an interesting one. To your point, mentioning High Point National coming up, and Tim Cotter actually sent me a text message this morning. He said, hey, we are looking for workers, so if you guys are out and about here at the track or you're watching at home on Racer TV, message them, shoot them a line. I think they need some flaggers, and it sounded like a couple of awesome opportunities. As Tim Cotter put it, some father-son duos to work the starting gate. What that entails, I don't know, but hey, could be a cool opportunity for you and Dad out there. So
well, it is that Father's Day National.
That's it.
It's been that way for a long time.
Yep.
There was the 5:23 of Lane Michael in the GBC Tires pit stop area. No pit stop, but he did grab hydration bottle and open up the gap again just a little bit over the 342 of Craig DeLong. DeLong bypassing the pit, saying, don't need anything this lap, boys. I'm going to be on my way and try to get this lead back. You know, that team pushing him hard, probably informing him on all of the pit boards, you know, not only of the gap from him to Lane Michael, which he can see, but also probably letting him know things like, hey, would be great if you'd win this. You'd be the points leader, kind of a thing. You know, all the information that these guys can have as a running calculation. Some of these guys want to know. Some of them just pretty much say, leave me alone, let me do my thing. Don't complicate the issue. Craig is one, I think, that he's a pretty calm racer, so I don't think the information really affects him much. So I think he probably wants to know, you know, where his competitors are at and what he needs to do to maximize his points gain on the day.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, and that's a good point. I was curious whether or not it's something like that, a 1-point lead. You know, even if it was to take over the points lead, it's still going to be a close points battle at the top of the field. And so I feel like some riders would be like, the points are going to do what the points are going to do. I know where I'm at this particular race, and focus on the task at hand, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one time that everybody wants to be the points leader. Look at this, Ricky Russell now to the rear wheel of Jordan Ashburn. Ashburn in that 3rd place spot there. Both of them say no to the bottles. That in and of itself tells you how important track position is. They don't want to give it up.
And we saw that cooling strategy there as well.
I like that.
Yeah, they're getting creative. They had the baby shark fins last year, so they were easier to spot. I know Rachel Archer was rocking that, but they're a little super soaker there to keep him cool as he makes his way around. I don't think there were electrolytes in that one.
Well, if they did, they're
do a whole lot.
They're just hydrating his jersey. Looks like it is still the 5:23 of Lane Michael. Burn blasting, talk about it. That was a whole lot of dust. Craig DeLong with a little more inside line there, but that gap still looks like it has stabilized, probably right around that 2 to 3 second mark, and that's all it takes at times to have that little bit of comfort. Lane's got enough of a gap to know that Craig's not going to be running it in on him in any of the multi-line sections. We'll see him pop out here. And there is Lane Michael hard on the throttle and pushing his way towards what will be a lap lead here in a matter of just a few turns. I would have to go back to the books, but I believe would be his first lap lead of 2023. We did see him run up there well into a podium position a number of times already this year, but I think this will be the first lap that he has led in 2023 in his return to action after missing a couple rounds.
And you know, I heard in your Monster Energy pre-race report there, one of the adjectives used to describe the track that I found interesting was simple. And when they talked about that, it wasn't like, oh, this is simple, it's going to be easy. It was almost, I need to pay a little more attention just because it's simple and these mistakes can kind of sneak up on you. You saw the white fender there. There is the 2-lap card sneaking behind him. So DeLong still within eyesight. He takes a glance over the shoulder to check exactly where Lane Michael is at, but nothing really, I feel like, crazy out of the ordinary, and they're just extreme hill climbs. Obviously the telephone pole section there is unique, but our top riders getting through it with relative ease at the moment.
4 seconds, 4.331. That's your gap between Craig DeLong up to the leader, 5:23 gas of Lane Michael. Still waiting on that heated battle between Ashburn and Russell to check in next.
Yeah, and that's where I think the action is going to be unfolding throughout these last 2 laps. Not only that, but not far behind them is the duo of the Baylor brothers. Each of those guys, we've talked about, everybody has their own motivation each day. Stu Baylor wanting to do everything he can do to gain the points to hang on to that points lead right now as he runs. He would retain it, but if Craig DeLong is able to wrestle that point position away from Lane Michael, that's an additional 5 points. There is Lane. This is Craig DeLong now. You can see how much dust Craig has on the back of that jersey. Likely had some water poured down his back at the pit. Don't know that we caught that on camera, but what that does then is it kind of creates like a vacuum for all that dust to come and stick to you. So he's definitely carrying a little bit of extra weight in mud. And people would look at that and say, well, hey, I don't understand why he's muddy. It's just dusty out there. But sweat and water, obviously when mixed with dust, make that little mud pie.
To your point yesterday, Bryson Neal, at post-race interview, he says, I don't know if we got some rain during the race or what, but it's like, yeah, dude, there was actually a monsoon.
Yeah.
You were just on the opposite side of the track when it was happening. So yeah, to your point, Johnny, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and that's that speaks to how these showers come through and hit different parts of the facility. Again, GNCC racing today, we're looking at, I believe, an 11 plus 12-ish mile racetrack. I didn't catch the track preview, but when you're talking about an area that big, a rain shower come through and clip one side of it, another shower come through and clip the other side. When you're out there racing, I can't tell you how many times over the years, 600 years of doing this, that I've come through. There is Ricky Russell has actually wrestled the third position away from Jordan Ashburn, so that settles that at least for the moment. We saw him charging, we saw him closing the gap, we saw him get to the rear wheel, and now he has actually been able to make the pass on Jordan Ashburn, dropping Ashburn back to fourth, and Ricky Russell is now in a podium spot on that Ampro Yamaha YZ450, and that is I believe 523 of Lane Michael out front. He is passing a lapped rider there, and we do know that the 342 of Craig DeLong still sitting behind him there. That lapped rider really struggling to get through those hay bales. Harder than it looks, man. Even walking through there yesterday was pretty tough. Yeah. Looks like he's opened it up a bit. This is the really dusty section over here. Always is. Seems like even if it rains, look at the white on the trees, the dust. This is the siltiest, dustiest part of this race course for sure. Something different about the dirt up here on the front side of the facility. This was all strip ground at one point, so it exposes different layers of soil, and all of these react differently to moisture and or lack thereof. This is the dustiest section of this race course by far. Again, I've literally run races here where it rained the day before and it was a dust bowl through this particular section. The rest of the track was perfect, or even kind of on the edge of slick or wet, and this part was dusty. So this is where he's able to kind of make some dust and try to open up that gap just a little bit over the second place rider. There he is, Lane Michael, pretty heavy into those berms, so hopefully he knows he's got the distance out of that air filter he needs to get it to the finish. But right now I don't think he's thinking about that. He's sprint racing right now.
Oh, absolutely.
He's trying to get away.
Yeah, run away and hide right now. Hey guys, more things developing. Grant Baylor around Stu Baylor, at least at the finish. So Grant moves up into the fifth place position. Stu drops to sixth. Gerard behind him in seventh. Eighth, Ben Kelly. Ninth, Trevor Bollinger. And Josh String rounding out that top 10 in the XC1, all on the lead lap.
Mikey, that also changes our point situation. We talked about Stu Baylor would still have had Lane Michael on screen, still leading the way. Would have had a 1-point lead as they run, even with Craig DeLong dropping to second. That makes the difference right there. So we would have a points tie as they run now, right now, with Grant having made that pass on Big Brother Stu. So we'd see a shared leaders plate going into Snowshoe. Man, talk about excitement. And we started to talk about that a moment ago. The time you most want to have the points lead is when you cross the finish line at Ironman or wherever you're able to wrap up the championship for the year and put the final nail in the coffin. But the next best time to have it is into that long, nearly 3-month break that we have in the summertime, because it's just, it's just that great feeling of saying, hey, I've been the best of the field here so far. A little bit extra confidence, kind of drives you through those tough training days, and all these guys wanting to have that point position right now, looking like as they run, potentially could be coming into that final round of action before the summer break. We could see Craig DeLong and Stu Baylor tied for that leaders reverse plate.
And then we get into the conversation of, hey, whoever beats whoever does better than the other guy at Snowshoe carries that momentum, like you said, into the offseason. Also, we got to consider, where does Ben Kelly finish today? Another factor. But nonetheless, very pivotal day today.
Well, this is not the first time we've seen a shared points lead either. If it is how it finishes, it was Ben Kelly and Stu Baylor, but now Stu Baylor, once again, keeping himself up there, whether he's grabbing wins or not, he's playing the long game, and if it does remain tied there with Craig DeLong, you'd rather be tied with it than second place. So
yeah, and speaking of Ben Kelly, last we saw he was running back in that 9th place position in the XC1. Mikey, I did not get a overall position on him. I believe he's going to be giving up a few spots. So if we got
Ben, you said Ben
Kelly
in 10th OA.
So 10th OA is what he was at the end of lap number 4, meaning he would score 11 points. Stu Baylor now dropping back to let's see, he's back to 6th place now, which would be 15 points, meaning he would stretch that lap or that points 4 more over Ben Kelly. Interesting, and it was already a 19-point gap. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, just how that pans out leading into Snowshoe, but we do still have another lap plus of racing action, lap and several miles, so nothing can be counted here. We just like to do the math for fodder and to get everybody hyped up, but these are the points as they run. Again, it was a 10-point gap Stu Baylor had over Craig DeLong. As they run right now, that has been completely erased, and they are running tied. Ben Kelly was another 9 points back of Craig DeLong, and sitting another 4 or 5 points back in the overall, depending on exactly how they come through here at the completion of this Mason-Dixon GNCC.
Going to be a good one. Lane Michael, Craig DeLong, Ricky Russell, Jordan Ashburn, Grant Baylor, Stu Baylor, Johnny Gerard, Angus Reardon leading the way for that XC2 class. He sits 8th in the OA. Liam Draper in 9th overall, 2nd in the XC2, and 2 seconds behind Angus Reardon and Ben Kelly, as mentioned, rounding out that top 10. Trevor Bollinger hanging in there. A big welcome back to the 739 Rockstar Husky, sitting 11th OA right now.
And that would be a pass back in the XC2 class, wouldn't it? Reordon regaining the lead there.
Yep.
So.
And also in the XC1 class, Ben Kelly getting his way around. He was last behind the 739 of Trevor Bollinger. So a little bit of points, mix up here or there. He's trying to do everything he can to stay in this championship fight after DNF at the last round and scoring no points, going from the points leader to 19 points back in 1 round. Not ideal. Running 10th, not great, but better than it was a couple laps ago. He's made up a few spots. Stu Baylor dropping from 5th to 6th, cutting that gap down. Right now, the guy with the driver's seat in the race, and quite honestly in the championship points, if Craig DeLong is able to make that jump, get around Lane Michael, grab the lead, that's the max points of 30, but not the case in this section. Lane Michael laying it down and looking good. Folks, we are watching a sprint test right now. Yep. Lane Michael is on the hammer and trying to open up the gap, and he has done just that. Just a few bike lengths, but it's still keeping that gap over the number 342 Rockstar Energy Racing Husqvarna of Craig DeLong.
Yeah, that was the question, was whether or not he was going to be able to continue the response to Craig DeLong there, and if Craig is making up ground, he's slowed it down significantly there, possibly even stretched it back out. But to your point, Johnny, I think we're eventually going to reach a point where one of these guys, whether it's the point situation or whether it's the return to the series situation, they're going to be like, all right, like Stu said, maybe one person just wants it a little more.
Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I just got chills. I know that's a Rodney Tomlin thing to say, but legitimately, watching Lane Michael on screen, this is a guy that's been chasing this for so long.
Amen.
It's been such a tough road, whether it be self-imposed or luck or whatever you want to call it. Right now, he's doing all the things right. If he can maintain this to the finish line and grab the win today, holy cow, what a story.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny, we talked about it, the Lane Michael of old, where we saw him do this early in races, and then he would begin to fade back into that in that third hour. But then we talked about, hey, the changes. He lost the Ampro Yamaha ride. He had to do his own program, the Lane Michael Racing program, in full effect on that gas ride. He's a dad now. He's hit the reset button on life and in racing, and maybe this is a new Lane Michael we see here today, moving forward into the end of the season. Scary thing if we've got another guy we can call a contender moving forward.
Yeah, and that would, again, just round out that whole crazy story. 7 winners in 7 rounds. Nope, sorry, 8 winners, 8 rounds. And a couple of them, 3 of them, have been first-time ever overall winners. I mean, what a crazy story. We did just see Ricky Russell on that Ampro Yamaha come through, is up into that 3rd place spot with a small gap over Jordan Ashburn. There we see Grant Baylor come by. There was another rider going very fast behind him. Could have been the 514 of Stu Baylor. Hard to tell we'll go back and take a look, review the footage, and see if it was. Those two might still be toe-to-toe, and Stu may not be so willing to give up that 5th place spot. He knows the points are valuable. He knows he's in a championship hunt, being the points leader. Probably doesn't know exactly what's going on in front of him. Doubt, they're telling him, hey, Craig's leading, Craig's second, that kind of a thing. But nonetheless, he knows he needs to maximize and do everything he can to gain every point that's available to him. Well, we don't have to look, because there's Stu Baylor on screen. So not only has he lost that spot to Grant, he has given up a big chunk of time as well, which actually means he's falling back into the grasp of Johnny Gerard. On cue, the 969 of Johnny Gerard could be Ben Kelly's best friend, pushing Gerard back. Whoa! He came out of nowhere. Oh boy, this one's going to get heated here coming to the finish. Ben Kelly now has made up a big chunk of time, got nearly to the rear wheel of Johnny Gerard, so now it's a 3-way battle over what would be 6, 7, and 8, and championship points looming large. Still, the guy in the driver's seat, Craig DeLong, sitting in that number 2 spot. He's just wanting to do anything he can to try to wrestle the points lead away and hopefully open up a small gap. And if he can get around the 5:23 of Lane Michael, he would do just that.
Well, regardless if Lane Michael wins today or not, talk about a dark horse in the season. The points not necessarily there, so he's kind of each individual race. I'm just here to do what I can do, jack up the program, and in a series like this where every position clearly going to count by the time it's all said and done, that's going to be exciting to watch. There is Josh Strang on the 17.
Guys, let's talk about this a little bit here. When's the last time we saw 10 XC1 riders occupying the top 10 spots, at least physically? We know that Liam Draper and also Angus Riordan have eclipsed these guys on elapsed time, but actually Strang and Ben Kelly and even Trevor Bollinger, who's in that 9th place spot, they're now inching away just a couple seconds here and there from that battle for the XC2 lead. I wouldn't be shocked to see possibly those guys actually pass those guys on corrected time, and if that's the case, you would see your top 10 riders all XC1 riders, and I don't know that that has happened in a very, very, very long time here at GNCC Racing. So that does just go to show they might not be a big bunch, but they're a strong bunch. Those guys are really pushing it there at the front of the field.
Love it. Love to see it.
Hats off to Trevor Bollinger, too, coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been off a while. Let's face it, did not have a great start to the season.
No.
Coming back from that horrific leg injury, if you saw the pictures on Instagram, they would make you question why anyone would ever even want to ride a dirt bike again after something like that. Came back, just wasn't himself. Took some time away, had another injury. He's been riding at his facility there in North Carolina, kind of hit the reset button. Yeah, this is mirroring a lot of what we're saying with Lane Michael. And yes, he's not leading, but in 11th place overall on corrected time, physically 9th on the racetrack as they run. You got to believe that that's going to be a smiling Trevor Bollinger if he can hold this one to the end today.
Johnny, let's talk about that for a second. These guys that have had these injuries, they seem to be taking more time on the recovery. Do you think last year was almost sort of a set-in-stone lesson for our pro riders of, hey, it's important to listen to your body, it's important to listen to your trainer, and don't push it. You want to come back and you want to be successful, and if you come back too soon, it could be detrimental.
Sure. I think, and all of these guys are getting, when I say older, I'm not saying they're old, but, with maturity comes wisdom. And, when you're young, you just absolutely want to get to the front, and that's all you care about. You want to get back on the bike. Oh, look at this.
New old leader.
Another shakeup. Craig DeLong able to make the pass, and is Lane Michael still plugging away? There he is. No apparent issues. Possibly, again, could have been a lapped rider. Maybe just Craig DeLong got aggressive and found a line. A lot of it we don't know, but we do know Craig DeLong is back in the lead. That brings us back to the points. We'll talk about the points here in a minute, but to finish that, Mikey, I think a lot of these guys learned last year that you have to make the distance of the season. You've got to be healthy to do that. Everybody wants to push back, especially in a contract year if they don't have a signed deal for the next year. But nonetheless, if you're not at 100%, it's going to be hard to be effective in these races. So taking that extra time to heal up, to really get your legs underneath you, be able to come out swinging, it's seeming to be paying off for these guys that are taking the time to do so.
Well, this is not a year, if you've got a lot of riders out, I'm at 85, 90%, I could probably grab a top 5. That's some good points. This year, you're going to need 100% if you even want a chance to get a top 5. So, yeah, it's definitely
to your point and your point, Johnny, when you were saying about the XC1 occupying the top 10, we haven't really had that many riders, and here we go with our
there was times last year where they couldn't even occupy the top 5. There wasn't enough of them.
There wasn't enough.
Yeah, absolutely. An injury-riddled season in 2022. Not been the case. We have had some riders out with injury, but the majority of them, with the exception of, I believe, Ben Nelko, and I may be forgetting someone. And if I'm
Thad's been out.
Thad.
Obviously. By the way, Thad expects. He said, "I really want to be at Snowshoe." I think Thad Duvall will be back.
And I always forget Thad's out because we just saw him on TV.
Yeah,
he was just getting dunked, and I know he's still been training, but that wrist injury, I think, again, like you said, poor timing. Could have probably tried to ride through it, but how effective would he and could he have been, and how would that affect him long term? So now we do see our 3rd, 4th, and now 5th place riders through. Grant Baylor on that Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki race winner. We say that about almost all these guys. Race winner earlier in the season, and currently sitting in that number 5 spot.
Craig DeLong wrestling the lead away from Lane Michael, but it is far from over. We'll be right back with more from the Parts Unlimited Mason-Dixon GNCC.
All-new Yamaha YZ450F. Narrower, more compact, and lighter. Built to do one thing: go faster. Flexible financing options offered directly through Yamaha are available. See your local Yamaha dealer today.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment, whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends. Professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
Amsoil runs on freedom and has since 1972. We punish our products firsthand in our world-class laboratories and beyond, because some things can't be learned from a test tube. Run with us.
Last season was my best season ever by far. I won a lot of races. I won a championship, and it was also my first year using ARMA. And one of the things I noticed was just my ability to string good days together. You know, like especially in the summertime in Florida, where you're riding every day and the heat index is 108 degrees, and you're doing 230s, and going to the gym and bicycle and all that stuff. I think in the past I've been super inconsistent day to day. Yeah, I may have a good race here or a good day during the week there, but overall, I think where I improved the most was my consistency in my recovery.
GNCC Racing is brought to you by Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready. Welcome back. GNCC Live on RacerTV.com. Craig DeLong, Lane Michael battling out front. Been an epic one to say the least. Ricky Russell and Jordan Ashburn charging. Grant Baylor, Stu Baylor going back and forth. Johnny Gerard in the mix. Angus Reardon in the number 8 spot. Liam Draper 9th and Ben Kelly rounding out the top 10. But boy, that was a long time ago as we are approaching the finish line area, about 8 minutes out.
All right,
before
Mikey.
we should see them.
I'm going to speak up here and say something. I think Lane Michael losing lead, Craig DeLong wrestling it away. There we see it on screen, the 342. Now it's the sprint pace coming from Craig DeLong. He's seen those extra 5 points, and he's like, no, those are mine. And it looks like he has opened it up just a little bit. This is probably the biggest lead we've seen today now, or near, from Craig DeLong. Looking like it's about 12, 15 seconds. We'll see what it is at the finish line. That said, I think if you're Lane Michael, this is the best thing that could happen right now. It takes away that whole I'm leading, getting into your thoughts and feels and all that stuff, and he's back to just being the chaser. He's chasing Craig, and I think if he can keep this up for one more lap of racing, of course, riding home, whatever transpired that made him lose the lead, he might say, oh, well, if I would have just done this or just done that. My 1,000 years of experience tell me this is the best thing that could possibly happen for Lane Michael. Just second, he's been on the podium before. This isn't new territory for him. He has never won a GNCC. I'm not saying you should give up. Keep fighting.
Oh, yeah.
But don't let yourself implode because you gave up the lead. Like, this is still a phenomenal return to racing action. I don't think anybody saw this one coming.
Exactly. I think if you could almost word for word speak on Lane's behalf in the post-race interview, Ricky Russell on screen right there. But I got to think, if he ends up second, even third, let's hope for second. We're not supposed to be biased, but he's rolling right now. Lane Michael will say, boy, the win would have been awesome, but man, does it feel good to be up on the box.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like we talked about, I can't imagine, I don't have a window into Lane Michael's head, but I can't imagine that leaving here with a top 5 would be anything but spectacular based on what he would have hoped, not even expected, but hoped for best case scenario. So now, approaching the white flag to be running in second with inside of the leader, this is beyond best case scenario. This is like the things that hopes and dreams are made of.
That's right.
And this is not something that we haven't seen earlier in the race as well. It may be a couple seconds more, but we saw Craig DeLong. He had lap traffic issue as well. He's now spearheading that, so he's kind of first to those lappers. So we might see the same thing repeat before it's all said and done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this. It looks to me like Ricky Russell is a good bit closer to Lane than he was a lap ago. So I don't think that Lane is 100% safe there in that second place spot if he's not able to go back after Craig. But he does have enough of a gap. He should be able to get a pit board, get a drink here. But again, we've talked about it. This is the absolute highest of highs of professional motorcycle racing. It takes you being at your best, and Lane has been off the bike for a while. You know, he's been resting, he's been training, he's been spending time at home with the new baby. But if it were to start weighing on him, this is the time right here. I mean, the white flag, he's got a good gap. We'll see what it is. I mean, it's looking like it's probably 45 seconds to a minute over this guy right here, Ricky Russell. But still, 12 miles, that's a long way to go. And unfortunately for Lane, if Ricky gets up to him, Jordan Ashburn isn't so far behind, so he's going to want to try to hang on to that podium, no question about that. Not giving the win to Craig DeLong yet, but it's starting to look like he is pulling away just ever so slightly from Lane Michael.
Not to mention, you got 5 minutes before this lap's over. You got the last lap. White flag will come out. Then you got to hang on for another 29 and a half, 30 minutes. A lot of racing left. We're into the nitty-gritty of this one, but
if ever there were a race that Lane was hoping would not be the full 3 hours, folks, the rules here state 2:45 is a complete GNCC race. That was not the case today. If they would have cut it at 5, as you can tell, we would have come up short. We're at 2:30 and not to the finish line yet, just shy of 2:30. That said, it would have been short, so they had to go another lap, but 6 laps is going to be probably at least 3:04, 3:05, somewhere in there. And I guarantee you Lane Michael is wishing, maybe the track was just a little bit longer and it was a 5-lap, 2 hour and 45 minute and 1 second race. That would have been best case scenario for him right now as they run.
This is going to be an exhausting one, too. We saw yesterday, if you had to have seen it, if you got social media, check it out, GNCC's Instagram handle or Cole Richardson as he comes across the finish line.
Oh, gosh.
He called on some dinosaurs, okay? He was blowing chunks. Let's just call it what it is. But it was as he crossed the finish. Mason Raider, great shot. Got it in slow motion for your viewing pleasures.
Let's put things in perspective. Very hot day yesterday. Dusty. Correct. Cole, every seat leader on screen. Craig DeLong looking like he's a little more kind of reserved right now. Not quite the full push that we saw. Taking a look over his shoulder. Likely realizing he has opened up at least a few bike lengths or a few seconds over Lane Michael. Still getting that little huckabuck there.
Never fails.
He's not giving up on it. He must be completely comfortable with it. Another look over the shoulder. Bobblehead Craig. I can guarantee you Jacob Fetty and Caleb Russell watching that, he's going to get it talking to whether he wins or not. But right now looking to have this one in hand. But that said, not only was it a rough, tough physical race yesterday, and Craig and Cole Richardson obviously getting it done, as you put it, calling some dinosaurs coming in across the finish line. Let's not forget, there was a big number 1 plate 1.9 seconds behind him that started that lap. 50 seconds behind him, so he was likely getting pit boards and then actually hearing Bryson coming. So he's at 100% push on the last lap after you're already depleted. Looking at his first win of the season, also Cole's the magic man here. I mean, he owns this place. True. He's won here more at Mason-Dixon than anyone else by far. Yep. Between when we used to have a race here called High Point and then Mason-Dixon, same essential property, would cross the road for one and not the other. He is the winningest rider here. So, a lot of pressure on him to get the job done, was able to do it, but that was max effort for him. Right now, looking like maybe not quite max effort for Craig DeLong, looking pretty comfortable out there as he comes to approach a waving white flag.
Getting down to it through the pits.
Still looking comfy, Lane Michael. That distinct Lane Michael riding style. Looking like he's not at the full sprint pace that he was. You see him looking like he's going to come in for probably a splash of fuel just to be safe. They're going to let him know what the gap is, and I think at this point he's doing all he can do just to get to the finish line and try to hold on to that second place spot. I don't anticipate that we're going to see him make a charge and go after the 342 of Craig DeLong. I really, truly believe Lane is going to settle into that number 2 spot, and rightfully so. Still a phenomenal ride, and just try to ride this one into the finish line and keep it on the podium.
Hey, let's go thank some sponsors on the box. Let's move our program in a good direction right here. I'm not mad at them.
Maybe bring Madden Blake up on for first GNCC.
I'm saying it's about time. Give that girl some earmuffs.
She's like 5
weeks loud
old
up
now.
There.
It's time.
It's time. It's time. Oh, goodness.
And more than anything, momentum. Like building momentum coming back. And, I think you even said, Johnny, he'd have been stoked with a top 5. Hey, that's a great base, a great building block. But to come out and have a performance. And this isn't like, oh, I got lucky, people went down early. We had top dogs up front, and I have been running this pace the entire race. So,
like
great
we
job.
talked about, everybody healthy and out there with the exception of Thad Duvall and Ben Nelko. Unless we're missing someone. And if we are, it's unintentional. But I think that was the entirety of our XC1 Pro class, at least the regulars that were going to be here all season. And, yeah, I mean, for him to come out and do it on a day like today with none of those guys having issues, at least major issues. Sure, everybody's always going to have their complaints about how the race went after. But all of these guys have been in the fight. And if we update our, as they come through, if we update our, as they run overall, I think we may see that again, we might actually see our 9th and 10th place riders in that XC1 class, Trevor Bollinger and also Josh Strang, potentially eclipse those top 2 in XC2 at the finish line. We'll wait and see. It'll be coming up soon.
Getting down to it as Craig DeLong. Craig making his way to the finish line now. Saying go, go, go.
This is it, coming right to the finish line for what will be Ricky Tyree and a white flag waving.
I mean, for Craig, and he's got no idea unless he's seen a pit board afterward. They got the radio there that he doesn't know that Lane Michael stopped for a splash of fuel. He doesn't know he's got this extra breathing room right now. But, Craig, you are in a good position.
I think
must be real silty right there.
I likely think we'll see bobblehead Craig do bobblehead things here and take a look over his shoulder, unless he has gotten the pit board to let him know that Lane is not there. Actually looking straight ahead. Didn't even. Oh, there he goes. He got the look over. He had to take a look and see if he could see Lane over there in those chicanes, which Lane likely probably was. Oh, still not headed down the downhill. So here we go. Lane Michael still in that number 2 spot, and you can actually see that was even an Ampro Yamaha team member there with a pit board waving Lane on. A lot of camaraderie here in GNCC Racing. He rode for that team. Yes, they departed, or he departed that team. They have a different rider, Ricky Russell, who's actually the rider chasing him right now in the 3rd place spot. Not trying to get anybody in trouble. I'm sure the team manager, and Yamaha, the entire team would have no issue with that. When somebody's been through what Lane's been through, you want to see him have some success, because that just brings more good riders to the fight and is why this series is what it is.
Amen. Absolutely. Craig DeLong is in with the lead. White flag lap. Go ahead, Johnny.
And on screen there at the 1 mile marker, that graphic updated as I was saying it. 1 mile in, and he is leading the way. Here is Ricky Russell, and when we get the update of the time gaps, Mikey Wayne?
Craig DeLong out front. 27 seconds back is Lane Michael, and 40 seconds back is rough and rowdy Ricky Russell.
So there we go. And we may have a shakeup behind this. There is Lane on screen now at the 1 mile marker, working his way through. For Lane at this point, it's going to be all about clicking off mile markers, hitting your marks, staying smooth. Yes, he's got to stay on the throttle because Ricky Russell is charging. He has world-class speed. You can't just ride around and collect your second. He's going to have to push the pace, but he's got to ride that fine line to not make the mistake. And again, one would have to believe that mentally and physically, Lane Michael has to be exhausted as long as he's been off from the top level of GNCC Racing these last couple of races. There is Craig DeLong on screen, still your leader on that Rockstar Energy Racing Husqvarna machine, making it look good out there. Grant Baylor now in. Has he gotten around Jordan Ashburn?
No, Ashburn did check in. He is 18 seconds behind Ricky Russell. Grant Baylor checked in the number 5 spot, 32.9 seconds back from Ashburn.
And here is where the mix-up may be coming in, because we saw last lap Grant was able to get around Stu and then open up a gap. That gap has gotten bigger, and we have been told by spotters that Stu may have actually lost an additional spot. Johnny Gerard may have made the pass now and taken over the 6th place spot, dropping Stu all the way back to 7th.
And once again, just a shake-up in the overall points. And it looks like, I mean, it's just like we were saying earlier, it's not a mechanical, it's not a body issue, it's just these are the best in the world at this, and everybody's got their day. Sometimes they just got a little more pace, and it does look like Johnny Gerard was able to get around Stu.
Yeah, can confirm. Johnny Gerard around Stu Baylor, 46 seconds back now from Grant Baylor, and
that's going to leave
still waiting on
That's going to leave Stu in the clutches of Ben Kelly, which could loom large in that championship points hunt. A lap ago, it looked like Stu was going to gain another 4, 5, maybe even 6 points on Ben. Now it's looking like Ben may actually get up.
Stu has checked in the 7th spot, 19 seconds back from Johnny Gerard. Knock, knock on the door. Behind him, Ben Kelly, 6 seconds back.
There you go. Great position for Craig DeLong. The two guys you're battling in the championship right now. They're back there battling over, what would that be, 8th? 7th?
As it stands right now, without those 2 XC2 guys coming in, 7th, battling over the 7th place position.
Yeah, so that's a big points gain right there with 14 points on the line for 7th place overall, assuming those XC2 guys don't jump in there, and Craig with 30 for the win. That'd be a 16-point swing for him on one of those guys and 17 on the other. So what a big day it could be for Craig DeLong in the points. He would be taking the points lead and also open up, give or take, a 6 or 7 point gap. Again, a lot of factors there. We got the XC2 to factor in, but as they run physically, he would have a 6 or 7 point gap on Stu Baylor, and Stu would still maintain, that roughly 19 points on Ben Kelly.
Bollinger and Strang have checked in now, 9th and 10th in the OA, and there is your new leader, the XC2, Liam Draper, and on adjusted time puts him in the number 9 spot. Angus Riordan in the number 10 position in the OA, and 2nd in the 250 XC2 class.
Those two have been going at it this whole race.
Back and
from
forth.
The start, yeah.
I got to think Liam is going to go all out to try and get a win. Although Angus Riordan kind of in that bracket too this year.
He's got that one win and was the points leader for a measure of time there. Definitely liking to get himself back up in the mix. I don't have the XC2 points in front of me, but I do know that both those guys very much in the mix throughout the first 7 rounds of action, and each wanting to maximize their points here today.
So we're watching your leader, 342 of Craig DeLong, weaving his way through the trees here. in Mount Morris, Pennsylvania. The Yamaha live drone, Yamaha live drone, getting us the great shots there. And really, it's pretty groundbreaking, even from the start. Being able to watch these guys, the angles they take coming into the corners, really kind of changed the game as far as the way we get to call the races, but the way the riders get to review the races as well. I remember even back at round 2, Zach Osborne telling me, yeah, we watch this stuff because, especially with this overhead view, we're able to look at lines, and as much as frequently as we come back to some of these properties, they like to spot out race lines for future events.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, all the information. You talk about football players watching film. You know, GNCC guys watch Racer TV. That's how it works. Here we go, mile marker number 3. We've had this shot a number of times. This has been the shakeup one for us. We saw it was Lane Michael who wrestled the lead away a couple of laps ago in this very spot. Will he be able to do it again? Will Craig DeLong open up a gap? We'll find out here in just a matter of moments. Folks, if you're just tuning in, you're tuning in for what has been a long battle between essentially 2 riders up front. Craig DeLong leading the majority of this one, but Lane Michael wrestling the lead away about a lap and a half ago, leading for a little over a lap, relinquishing that lead back to Craig DeLong as they came in for the white flag. Craig having, as you can see on screen, about 27 seconds after Lane did elect to pit for what had to have been a second time for a splash of fuel. Didn't see what else he got, but with a 40-second gap over Ricky Russell, he's trying to maintain that while at the same time trying to let Craig DeLong not get away any further.
Interesting things developing. Looks like maybe, as you said, Johnny, we don't want to count it just yet, may have our first 2-time winner of 2023. Craig DeLong in the driver's seat of that, but still another, 22 minutes away, 22 and a half minutes away from getting the job done, but certainly in a good position. And probably most importantly, those bonus points, winning, and the status of Stu Baylor and Ben Kelly being back there battling for 7th right now. Craig probably has no idea of where they're at, but boy, that will be some refreshing news if he can hang on and grab this win, in addition to finishing so far ahead of them.
Well, coming in, you know, he knew he was 10 points behind Stu. I'm sure of that. He probably likely is aware that his lane behind him. Doubtful that he knows much else beyond that. So if you're in his shoes, you got to assume Stu Baylor's been rock solid this year, minus the one round at South Carolina where he had a DNF. That said, you know, he may not even be thinking about that. He probably shouldn't be. But if he is, he's probably assuming Stu is solidly inside a podium position, or at worst a top 5, and he's thinking, man, I need every point to try to, you know, get as close as I can to him in points. Not thinking that Stu's obviously having some struggles the last couple laps, dropping from 5th, you know, to 6th, and then ultimately having some pressure from behind now from Ben Kelly for that 7th place spot even.
And this is not the direction you want to go if you're the points leader right now. It seems like, honestly, it seems like he has the issues there as now your leader pops up on screen. It's like when he gets the points lead, he's like, and then he pops back up. It's just weaves in and out.
I was going to say that as we get closer to the end of this, but if it ends like it is right now, Stu's a scary man when his back is against the wall. When he's pushed into a corner, he's like a rabid coyote that will claw, bite, anything he can do to get back into it.
I'm impressed to see Lane hanging it out as much as he is and still pushing the pace. Like I was kind of expecting to see him, you know, balls of his feet, just kind of cruising this last lap, which I felt could drop him back into the clutches of Ricky Russell. But right now, I don't think he lost any additional time to Craig DeLong from that camera shot we had previously, which means he's probably still bouncing around that, you know, 20 to 30 second range, and that's impressive. You know, he's got to be going deep mentally and physically. Again, with the time off, with the injuries he's had, and this is not an easy race course today.
Now Russell. Yep, the Pro Yamaha, Ricky Russell, and arguably been the man on the charge through a lot of this race. Seems like every time we see him, he's closing the gap on somebody, and then when he does catch up to him, it doesn't take long to get around him as well. Catching him is one thing, but getting around him is a whole other story.
And Ricky Russell building momentum here today with the podium would be a dangerous thing, because that man at Snowshoe is dangerous.
Oh, amen. Yeah. Rough and rowdy, and that is the perfect way to describe Snowshoe.
Here is your 4th place rider, Jordan Ashburn, another rider who's had a lot of success at Snowshoe over the years, sitting there in that 4th place spot, still within striking distance, 18 seconds back when they checked in at the completion of the lap, still kind of circulating it around about that area, back there in that number 4 spot. 5th place next, we should see the grizzly Grant Baylor on that Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki, looking like he is going to potentially put in a solid top 5 ride today, and there he is, the 314 machine still charging, not wanting to give up any ground, because not too far behind him is Johnny Gerard about 40 seconds back when they checked in at scoring, and Gerard was the man on the charge through the last couple miles of lap number 5.
All right, guys, as much as I don't want to do it, I got to leave you here in the truck. I'm going to go meet Jackson down at the podium, and we'll see who we're talking to. It's going to be exciting no matter what.
Zach Herron, Jackson Burrell making their way down to the finish line area as we are getting down to the nitty-gritty in this one now. Under 20 minutes away from seeing our checkered flag. Been a monumental season, a season of history in GNCC made.
Yeah, I mean, and there's still not, no matter which way this one goes, or there's multiple, obviously, potential outcomes. If Craig DeLong wins, you know, it's like we can breathe a sigh of relief and say, hey, finally we've got some normalcy and some predictability in the series. We have a second-time winner, 8 rounds in.
Yeah, that's
wild.
Nice.
If you would have told me that coming into the season, I would have just laughed and walked away and said, please put the crazy man back in his padded room.
He has no clue what he's talking about.
And if Lane Michael can pull this rabbit out of the hat, you know, whether it be a setback for Craig or if Lane just digs deep and puts down that sprint speed that he's known for and is able to close that gap on Craig and grab the win today, 8 winners in 8 rounds. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So yeah, and Ricky Russell not out of the mix either. 40 seconds back, but we've seen crazier things happen. Dust a factor. A lot of lapped riders. A lot of things could happen here in the final 5-6 miles of racing.
That's right. Hey, we've seen it happen to everybody. It seems like. Yeah, giving out wins this year, like Oprah Winfrey in the 90s giving out minivans.
Hold on.
Insane.
I'll step in here. We might have 7 wins in 7 rounds, but nobody's giving these things out.
Well, all right.
These guys are absolutely. Oh, you made it sound like
no,
it.
No,
I know.
Nobody's giving away anything.
Yeah, these things, just because we have 7 winners doesn't mean that it's easy to grab a win. I mean, each of these guys has just been able, quite frankly, to put together a better day on their day than the best off-road riders in this format in the entire world. You know, yes, we know there's other forms of off-road racing across the country and around the world, but in this format, in the woods racing 3-hour format of GNCC racing, these guys are unequivocally the best in the world. We've seen the best sprint riders from Europe come over. We saw, obviously, last year, Josep Garcia come over, and, you know, he was able to run, I believe, 2nd place at our Florida round, but he didn't come over here and dominate. So these guys are, you know, the best of the best in what they do. We've seen Stevie Holcomb come over, a factory beta rider. Again, another international superstar in World Enduro. We've had West Coast riders come out. But credit to those guys, when the GNCC regulars go to their events, it's not that one is better than the other. They're very specialized in what they do. And these guys,
Cody Webb, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are the best in this format. And to have 7 of them capable of winning, and I think it would be remiss not to say that Josh Strang has been close. You know, he's definitely capable of winning. You know, today, Lane Michael proving that he's capable on his day of running right up there. Thad Duvall has won many, many times.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, that's virtually every rider in the XC1 class. I don't know that we see that type of spread of talent and ability across an entire class of elite level riders in any form of racing right now.
Right, yeah, and motorsports in general. I don't care, like we were saying pre-show, like NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, that kind of diversity. Pretty special. This is a very special season.
This is equivalent to like having Williams drivers win F1 races. The way it's been. Please don't take that out of context. I'm not saying that any of the riders that have won, it was like a fluke thing and it wasn't expected. It's just crazy that each one of them is truly capable. When you look at it on paper, yes, it makes sense. They're all capable. And there is the guy who's been the most capable so far today, the 342 of Craig DeLong out front, leading the way. We'll see what the gap is as they come by here at the 5-mile mark. And that is not Lane Michael, so he does still have a pretty comfortable little gap. But, man, Lane has closed it down. That is not 27 seconds. So we're going to get some maths done by our producer, Adam Gordon. He's got the calculator, the abacus, and the sundial out, and he's going to get back to us with an exact split of what it was. 27 seconds is what it was at the finish line when they came through with the white flag waving, and as it stands right now, that gap is 16. Folks, hold on to your hats here.
Shaved
Lane
off
Michaels
11 seconds.
Putting in a charge. Did not expect this. Look at this, Ricky Russell, not all that far back either. Still probably about 25 to 30 seconds behind Lane Michael. But, yeah, it's looking like Craig's comfortable, but with 16 seconds, I mean, that's, you know, one little stall, a tip over, you know, even getting held up behind lappers in a tight section. if Lane Michael catches a glimpse of Craig DeLong, it could very possibly be on.
Yeah, breath of fresh air. There went Jordan Ashburn. That number 1 plate probably in the hands of some young fan out there right now, completely stoked.
And Magnum One happy to have him bring it by and get it signed after the race.
Go get it signed, bud, I promise.
If you're the fan out there that possesses that number 1 plate, bring it by. Jordan will sign it for you. They're not going to take it back from you, I assure you.
Yeah. It's all yours. Craig, we've talked about this before. Matter of fact, we talked about it pretty extensively. There is Grant Baylor passing by on screen. We talked about this pretty significantly, Johnny, the journey of Craig DeLong. He was on that, at the time, Coastal Racing Husqvarna team. We know they are now the Gas team. Rockstar Husky had 2 injured pro riders. Thad Duvall was out, and Trevor Bollinger was out. Hey, we need a guy. Craig DeLong gets called up, has to grow up quick, if you will. A lot of pressure. And it's a ton of pressure to be that guy. Basically, hey, you got to represent Rockstar Husky. We got to have a guy. We got to have our spot here on Pro Row, essentially. And he has answered to the pressure.
He has, and Craig's a builder. Craig's a long-term kind of guy. We've talked about that before. He's not a guy that just came out of nowhere, won a race, and we're like, who is this guy?
Right.
Or a guy that was like barely top 10 guy and all of a sudden getting on the podium. For Craig, it's been, whether it was as an amateur or an XC2 rider, he week in and week out, just, that base gets under him, he feels firm, he pushes a little harder, gains a little confidence, pushes a little harder. Next thing you know, we see a guy that's a consistent top 10 guy starting to battle for 6-7. Then we see that guy battling for top 5s. We see him up with an occasional podium. Then we see him as a consistent podium guy, now battling for wins week in and week out. And to me, that guy is far more sustainable than somebody who just all of a sudden kind of changes something and they start winning, because Craig knows exactly what he did to get to where he's at, and he's not likely to have that big swing back. Here is Johnny Gerard, has, again, gotten around Stu Baylor up into that number 6 spot. Both in the XC1 class and the overall. The next battle back, Stu Baylor was 19 seconds behind him in scoring and 6 seconds back to Ben Kelly. There is Stu, so still hanging on to that 7th place spot, but that is not 6 seconds. Ben Kelly is basically in the shadow of Stu Baylor at this point, trying to battle out and get that point.
And I believe we're going to take a quick commercial break right here. Lane Michael, Craig DeLong duking it out. Everybody wants a piece. What a day for the 523. Sitting in a podium position right now. Can he hang on? He is charging. We'll be right back after this.
Canati Tires, a division of Greenball Corp, has been in the tire business for over 44 years. We're passionate about developing quality tires that perform great and bring extraordinary value to our customers. Whether you're looking for a tire that can handle your off-road adventures, need a reliable tire to take you from job site to job site, or simply want a tire with a beefier look that won't break the bank, then check out Canati Tires.
The United States Motorcycle Coaching Association has been setting a standard for motorcycle coaching since 2016. Coaching is important for all riders, no matter the age or skill level. The USMCA connects riders with coaches, whether the rider is just starting out on their motorcycling journey, to a competitive amateur racer looking to reach their next milestone, or the professional athlete trying to clinch a title. Download the Motorcycle Coaching app and get connected to a USMCA certified coach today.
How would you like to go to a school where we take into consideration how students learn best? Well, we do that Because we find if we can build the curriculum around the things you are interested in, you're going to do a better job. The mission at On Track School is that educational success is possible while chasing your dreams. Not only will our staff help students to achieve success, they will cheer you on to the finish line. We encourage you to check out On Track School at ontrackschool.com, where we can help you chase your dreams and still get a quality education.
OnTrackSchool.com. Check it out.
In the premier form of off-road motorcycle racing in the world, it's the beginning of a new era. 17 Supercross, 11 motocross, and those 3 playoff rounds.
Super Motocross World Championship Final. Tickets on sale now. Visit supermotocross.com.
30-second card is up. We've talked all about it. We've watched practice and qualifying. We've theorized. We've bench raced. Now it is time to go. Revs are up. Gates down. Side by side we go. Jet Lawrence, Justin Cooper in front of the crowd. Winner from Chase Sexton. Did anyone else get up in the mix? They have been 1-2 in the last 7 motos of this championship. Here we go.
Every race, every day, in every way. Print, social, digital, video, photo. Every race, every day. Every result, every story, every rider, everything. Moto every day with Racer X.
And we're back here from the Mason-Dixon GNCC, live on Racer TV, and right on cue, here comes Craig DeLong. This is your leader, folks. He is just a few short miles away from potentially putting the final wraps on this one, but when we saw in our last camera shot, Lane Michael had made a charge and had it down to 16 seconds from 27 is what it was when they saw the white flag waving at the completion of lap number 5. Again, rewind just a little bit further, and Lane Michael was actually leading. Here he is on screen, looking again about that 15, 16, 18 second mark. Not close enough to make a move, but close enough that if Craig has even just the slightest of miscues, Lane Michael could potentially be looking at his first ever GNCC overall win, and cannot downplay the fact that second place today would be more like a win for Lane than anything. I mean, it's you know, he's missed the last 2 rounds with the shoulder injury. Not the greatest start to the season for him, for sure, and quite frankly, a rough couple of seasons. So for him to put it on the box and in a second place spot after battling for the lead for so much of this race and still being so close, I mean, that is a phenomenal performance today for that Lane Michael Motorsports team. You know, it's he's still close, he's still fighting, and still looking really good deep into lap 5 with just less than 2 miles remaining.
Yeah, the man needs it. He certainly needs a win, if not an overall win, a mental win. And I think today a podium situation for Lane Michael is just that. That is a huge mental win and a hurdle that I'm sure he's been longing to get over. And you know, if you're Lane Michael, you walk away from this one, you put it on the box today, you can sit back and you can say, okay, I'm still that guy. I'm still that guy. I have that potential to run that pace with the leaders, compete for podiums, compete for wins.
Well, not even just still that guy. I mean, really are that guy. I mean, Lane has but a handful of overall podiums ever in GNCC racing. So to do it coming from a place where it's not like he's been, you know, we saw him a consistent top 10 guy for many years. He would break through for some top 5s, flirt with some podiums. So that was typically when he got those podiums. Now, you know, again, not to put him down, but he's kind of coming from the lowest of lows.
Yeah.
You know, losing his ride at the end of last season, coming back on a privateer effort. A lot of great sponsors behind him. So when we say privateer, we're not saying he's doing this entirely on his own. Obviously got great support from Gas and FXR, Scott, you know, all the people that are helping him out. But, you know, his dad is his mechanic. You know, they're operating out of their own personal truck and trailer. There's no semi. There's no team of coaches. You know, this is Lane, his family, his friends, and a core group of sponsors that have come together and said, hey, we believe in you. You should believe in yourself. Go out, get it done. And, you know, not winning the sprint enduro title this year, he's not having it locked up. At least he's still fighting for that championship. He's competing in the full gas sprint enduro. It's you know, a big statement for him to come out and put this machine, a privateer effort, again, out of a truck and trailer against the semis, against the big boys, against the guys that are getting paid, quite frankly, the big bucks to do this. And Lane's running and working for bonus money. So that's another part of this. You know, Lane can make a few bucks today.
That's it. Amen. And you got to love rooting for a guy like that, because it's kind of, hey, the chips are down. It humbles a guy, because, you know, you go from that factory rider to now this situation, you hang your head low. Yeah, I'm not under the umbrella anymore. There is our leader out in front, Craig.
And we've got such a great story going on with Craig, or with Lane. You know, we're not trying to overshadow the fact that Craig DeLong, looking like he is, man, he's just flirting with that little kick every lap. And again, bobblehead doing bobblehead things. He's going to rewatch this. I know he will. I'll get a text. He won't appreciate me bringing it to anyone's attention.
Johnny, would you shut up?
Yeah, man. No, I get it. Where he's at this point, he's down to the final miles. He knows Lane's lurking back there. You know, he wants to make sure he's running a pace, you know, fast enough to keep Lane at arm's length, but also keep it well under control. Don't take any risks. He puts himself on the ground. Lane's right on it, you know. Yeah. So he's doing the right things, and again, potentially looking like to be the guy in just, quite frankly, a mile that will be the first two-time winner of 2023. Retaking the points lead, having that points lead all to himself with, as they run, Stu Baylor sitting back in 7th overall. Again, that would be 14 points. He was 10 down, so he would have a 16-point lead on Stu Baylor as they run. I mean, that is a big swing in the points.
Now that is a shot right there. Rockstar Energy Husqvarna Pits losing their minds.
My math is not mathing. It would be a 16-point swing. He was 10 down, so he would be 6 up. Apologies, I get excited sometimes. I'm good at math, but I don't consider all the factors.
You know what? Hey, you're old, Johnny. You don't even need your iPhone out to do it.
Yeah, and I don't know Common Core math, so.
I don't either. It makes no sense to me. And the kids, I know you're laughing at both of us right now, but.
Yeah, so a 6-point lead is what it would be if he's able to bring this one all the way to the finish line, grab the win, and Stu's able to hold off Ben Kelly for that 7th place spot. It would be Craig DeLong alone with the points lead and a 6-point gap over his nearest competitor. The rider that was the points leader coming into today, Stu Baylor. Yamaha Live Drone following Craig through here. Lane Michael headed the other way along that fence, just a few seconds behind, still within striking distance, but now just one little wood section, a couple field sections, and that's all it takes for Craig to put the wraps on this one. I don't know who that is behind him, but they're pushing a pretty good pace. Yeah. It's a lapped rider, but you know, maybe another XC2 or an A rider that, you know, kind of got dropped a lap there, and they're pushing everything to hang on to Craig to the finish line. We did see somebody he knows likely because he gave him a thumbs up when he passed.
That's it. Good one today for Craig. Not in the books yet, but nearing it. Now under 1 minute to go before he should check in for the checkered flag, and will be our first two-time winner of 2023. And my goodness gracious, it is June 4th, Johnny Gallagher, and we're just now talking about a rider with 2 wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a long time coming. You know, we would have assumed we would have seen this, you know, months ago. But it looking like we are going to see it now. Again, just a couple little wood sections here, one big field, and then some chicanes to the finish. And Craig DeLong and his Rockstar Energy Racing Husqvarna can, in fact, put the wraps on the first two-time win. 3 hours, 38 seconds into this one, so it's looking like it's going to come in at just over 3 hours. But a dusty, hot day here, physically demanding of the riders. And Craig DeLong looking like he's going to be the one that's going to come out on top here.
Got to hand it to Craig, too. Got to hang on. He's nearing the finish line right here to bring home the win. But, Johnny, in 2 extreme opposite scenarios, he won the Mudder in Georgia, one of the nastiest mud races we have had in a long time. Here today, he does it in the heat, the blistering sun, and the dust. Craig DeLong has a bag of tools, man. I mean, he has got tools at his disposal, and he's put it on display this season.
Absolutely. I mean, winning likely the two most polar opposite races of the year, and just being consistent, like we talked about. He is the rider that does not have the DNF. He's put points up on the board in every race, and now he is going to be rewarded not only with his second win, but also as the points leader heading into our snowshoe round, which also leads into the summer break.
Bang! There it is. Checkered flag flies, and it is the 3-4-2 Rockstar Energy Husqvarna of Craig DeLong out of Morgantown, Pennsylvania, getting the job done. That one's got to feel good. And there is Lane Michael. Johnny, I'm stoked for that, man.
Man, that is awesome. Watching Lane cross the finish line there in second, love all these guys, but I'm absolutely stoked for Lane. That is a huge, huge, huge day for this guy right here.
Hey, good job, Dad.
What a ride, a breakthrough performance for Lane Michael. You can see them trading stories. There's his wife, Hunter. Absolutely stoked to be here on the podium. Solid second place position. Everybody coming over and congratulating both these guys. Huge day for both of them, but I honestly think a bigger day for Lane Michael even than it is for Craig DeLong.
I think you're right. Not taking anything away from Craig, but Lane Michael, I think the man that needed this the most as far as his racing career is going. Hey, lost a factory ride, lost a ride with Ampro Yamaha, changed up the program. He became a dad, hit the reset button on the race life, hit the reset button on the personal life. And boy, if he is the Lane Michael we saw today, ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a treat. There is the new dad saying, I am exhausted.
There is the little peanut.
There's the baby girl.
There she is, Madden Blake. I believe her first GNCC that she has been to, and Lane wanted to make it a special one for her getting. Wait, did we just see?
That was Jordan Ashburn, but no, we did miss Ricky Russell.
Gotcha. So
Ricky,
Russell,
the 212, did come in.
Rounding out the podium there in third. Able to charge through the pack. We saw him back much further earlier on. So a great charge for Ricky Russell to put it on the box. And all three of those guys, hopefully we'll be able to get interviews with all of them.
We hope. Don't run away, guys.
Don't go too far, because I'm really hopeful that the battle we have in XC2, if we can keep this Yamaha live drone in the air long enough, or if we have a camera shot there, that one was coming down to the wire. And if Liam Draper is able to get this done, it would be great to have a shot of him crossing the finish line.
Amen. The XC2 about 2 minutes out from the finish line. Liam Draper was leading it, as we know, going into that last lap. Had a 9.221 second lead over Angus Riordan. And Ryder Lafferty back in the third place spot.
Oh, Lafferty up into a podium position. He's been charging all day. Again, a rider that was very dominant at the beginning of the season and having some struggles as of late. So it'd be a big step in the right direction for him to get back on the box.
On that factory gas. He is a minute back from the number 2 spot, but nonetheless, looks like Jackson Burrow literally sitting by with our winner, Craig DeLong.
All right, I'm here with the first two-time winner of the season, Craig DeLong. Craig, take me through today and take me through what this means for you.
And it was a good day, man. I pretty much rode out front all day. I had a little get-together with a lapper, and Lane got by me, and I thought it was going to be that was going to be it. It was super dusty, and I couldn't really get to his wheel, and took me a lap to kind of get used to riding in the dust, and then I tracked him down and just put a lot of pressure on him. And when I got him, I wanted to make sure that I was on him, and he ended up making a mistake, and I was able to just kind of squeak by him, and I just kind of rode out from there. It was a brutal track. It was very difficult to pass and get up on people, and the start was key, which I did a good job of that. So,
Craig, what's the plan going forward?
Just try to keep it going, man. That's all I got to do. Try not to think about the championship and just take one race at a time. And it feels good to kind of get out front again and lead some laps. It's been a while since I've done that, and it just makes me hungry to keep it going.
All right, guys, your overall winner, Craig DeLong.
Well, there you go, Mikey. He said it. Just keep it going. Keep doing the same. Wanted to lead some laps. He did that today. Led the most important one, the last one, with the checkered flag waving. Grabbing the win. Taking the points lead. And like he said, the start, a big factor for him today. You heard him say it. Connected with the lapper. We wondered what happened when the lead was exchanged there. But he was able to wrestle it back. Here we see There it is. Liam Draper with the win in XC2, slapping the handlebars, getting it done finally after so many close calls here in 2023, getting the job done, winning that XC2 class. We'll see where that puts him in the overall. If we refresh our screen there, looks like we do have Trevor Bollinger crossing the line there, looking like he'll still be solidly in the top 10 overall, so a great ride for him. And we do have Zach down here with a very happy-looking new dad and second-place finisher, Lane Michael.
Yeah, guys, I'm down here grabbing a little couple paper towels. He's going to get the face wiped off. Lane Michael, what a return here to this XC1 class. You didn't just say I wanted to come in and make a statement. Battling up front all day long. How are you feeling?
Yeah, honestly, I feel all right. I honestly didn't expect to be up front today. It's Wednesday afternoon. I have a total of maybe 6 hours on the bike since Camp Coker, so yeah, a bit in shock. I got super lucky getting a good start, and honestly, I just kind of settled into my pace. Craig was going a little bit better than me, and he ended up making a mistake, got around him, and I just kind of kept that same pace. I didn't really try to wick it up, and unfortunately, I just made a small mistake. Got off balance, hit a tree, fell over, he got around, and then I made another little mistake and lost touch, but man, I'm pretty dumbfounded right now. Like I said, I didn't even think I was going to be racing this weekend, so to put it up on the box in second and be that close and feel that good for 3 hours was caught me really off guard. So happy with that.
We've known you've had the speed. We know the obstacles you've had to overcome. I just saw you had your new little baby here with you. What's it like to be able to do this with her here?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, you know. We had a little girl. I don't even know how long it's been. April 28th, she was born. So, yeah, that's super cool. Like I said, I've been going through a lot of injuries. Even still, like, I'm not necessarily 100%, but I think the home state, the hometown crowd, I could hear everyone cheering me on, and I just wanted to do it. Like I said, it's been a long time, and I know I can do it. It's just it's taken me some time. So I'm super stoked with this FXR gas motorcycle, and I'm glad I can finally do it some justice and put it up front.
There you go. Welcome back to XC1 Racing. Lane Michael grabbing second on the day.
Boy, big congratulations in order for Lane Michael. You know the celebrations down there. Stoked for you, Lane. Big congratulations to you. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, man, absolutely. You know, huge day for Lane, and you could see it's kind of funny. Like it hasn't set in yet. Like he realizes it, but he was just like, man, I wasn't expecting this. I also wasn't expecting to feel good, so I'm going to need a minute to absorb this. We're also going to need a minute to absorb big changes on the last lap in terms of the championship picture. We were expecting to see Stu Baylor crossing the line potentially in 7th. No, drops all the way back to 9th on that final lap of racing, losing a spot physically to Ben Kelly. Ben Kelly jumping all the way up to 6th or making that pass, and Stu 9th. So that shakes up the points a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit more after we talk to this guy right here. Ricky Russell, big day, bringing it in on the box on that Ampro Racing Yamaha.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Ampro Yamaha's Ricky Russell, our 3rd place today. Take me through your race, Ricky.
Oh man, I'm usually a good starter, and unfortunately in one of the races that you need a good start, I totally botched it, spun sideways, and I was like buried, and so we couldn't see the first couple laps. We were just like barely going, looking down at the ground, and then I was kind of stuck behind Stu for a while. He was going good, but those front guys were getting away, and I was getting a little bit frustrated because I couldn't get by them, and it was just so dusty you couldn't see, so it was hard to make the moves. But once everyone got a little separated, and I was able to make some moves, and then saw the podium, and I was just riding my hardest, but came up a little bit short from those leaders, but on the box, I'll take it.
Any changes going into the next round?
No, just nothing in particular. I just got to get a better start if it's dusty like this. So, but snowshoe, we're on the pavement, so we'll be good.
All right, everybody, that is your 3rd place, Ricky Russell.
A 2017, I believe, Ricky Russell's very first XC1 win
on that Ampro Yamaha.
On the Ampro Yamaha. So, history has a funny way of repeating itself. But boy, if we've got Liam Draper down there, I would love to get an interview with our XC2 winner. And that's exactly what we're going to get. Good job, boys. All right, Zach Heron standing by with the 198, your winner of the XC2 class. Long overdue.
All right, give me 1 second here, Mikey. Ken Hill's got to get the shot. All right, now I've gotten the permission. Mikey wanted a word, man, and we are excited to talk to you. We've said it before. You've been so close. I mean, could literally see the finish line. You get the job done, man. How you feeling?
Man, I'm stoked. I didn't even know what to say. I broke my foot peg off on lap 3 leading. I looked down, I had no foot peg. I'm like, man, not again. Like, they put a new one on, and I was in second, and I just gave it everything I had. I'm tanked now. I'm glad the hard work pays off. There you go, KR. I didn't fall short.
Shouting out Caleb Russell. Liam Draper getting the job done and grabbing that XC2 win.
There you go, Caleb. He didn't fall short.
Mikey, we've talked about the camaraderie, and that was it right there. You know, Caleb, likely there. You can see him walking into shot from our Yamaha Live drone, congratulating Liam. You know, they razz each other, but a lot of respect amongst these guys. And Liam, you know, great job. Congratulations on that win today. It's so close. You know, it's got to taste that extra little bit of sweet today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see the effort these guys put in out there. Johnny, you see it firsthand. I see it firsthand. It's good to see them go out there, get a win. Well, there you go. Your top 10 results. Craig, the first two-time winner of 2023. We will look back, I think, on this race as being very pivotal in the championship race.
Absolutely. You know, it's we said it. It'll set the tone for the rest of the season. Right now, Craig DeLong with a as Adam Gordon did the math, an 8-point lead in the points. 168 for Craig, Stu with 160, Ben Kelly with 144. So those three guys right now at the top of the point standings as they run.
Stu Baylor, not a great day. 9th in the overall, but I'll say this about Stu. The moment we begin to doubt that man, the moment that man feels like he's put in a corner up against the wall, that is when Stu Baylor is his most dangerous. You know he is going to come out swinging a snowshoe. Well, I believe that is going to wrap things up for us here at the Parts Unlimited Mason-Dixon. On behalf of Jackson Burrell, Zach Heron, Johnny Gallagher, our camera operators, Adam, Matt, Josh, Mike, Leah, and Vance, our drone pilot, Gabe, our spotter, Hollywood, David Kripe, our EIC, Jordan McFadden, our director, Dylan Acord, our producer, Adam Gordon, and, of course, our executive producer, Carrie Jo Russell. I'm Mikey Waynes. We'll see you at the races.